You're listening to the N.W.A, the Nubian Wrestling Advocates.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Yo, it's Righteous Reg. It's a case for the safe, keep a space for the Nubians. Unfiltered, off kilter, the professor, the godfather, host wrestling the N.W.A, not keep guessing, the views and expressions, you know the rest, it's pod excellence, get the message, advocates for Nubian wrestling, you're listening to the best again, black wrestling in the ring we invested in, Nubian kings and queens we invested in, it's for the culture and we reppin' it. It's for the culture and we reppin' it.
And welcome to the NWA Podcast, the Nubian Wrestling Advocates, the show all about getting color in the professional wrestling business. What's good, family? We are back and better than ever. So glad to be able to close out the month with a big show, with a couple of big stories that we got to get into. But before we get into what we're going to talk about, we got to let you know who we are. I, of course, am the man with the plan, the truth in the booth, your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster, the Godfather, Nate Milton. And I am joined by my brothers, the advocates. First of all, as a man that some of y'all love, a fraction of y'all hate, but everybody respects. He is the angry intellectual. He is the mayor pro tem. The mayor pro tem of Los Angeles, California. Some know him as Moderna Chris. Some know him as Mimosa Chris, but I know him as the professor. Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Chris Ely is in the building. What's good, Professor?
What is up, man? I'm just getting ready for the post-wrestling day in November the 19th. But before that, we've got Election Day, November the 8th. Calling it Rovember. Got my shirt from my boys at MidasTouch.com.
Okay.
Make sure you cop a shirt. Make sure you support, you vote for the right people this election. If you live in Georgia, vote for Raphael Warnock. Do not vote for Herschel Walker.
Hey, leave Walker, Georgia Ranger up out of this, dog.
Do not vote for that motherfucker. All right. That's the gist of that. And then vote for Stacey Abrams as well if you're in Georgia. And just make sure you're voting, man. Just make sure you are voting this midterm election.
Absolutely. And speaking of somebody that we would all vote for if we had a chance, he's the man that brings you all the news that's fit to read here at Post Wrestling. He is the youngest in charge, and he is, most importantly, our nephew. Andrew Thompson is in the building. What's good, nephew?
What's good, Nate? Let's go. It's like, no, I'm playing. Happy Halloween, everybody. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
What's going on, man?
And Andrew Sweet Pea Thompson out here on these streets.
Sweet Pea, it's good to see y'all, brothers, man. It's always good to talk to y'all. Always good to see your faces. I'm very excited about the conversation. But Nate and Chris, my sources told me, man, that we're not going to be doing this podcast alone. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's true. Right. That's what I heard. You know what I'm saying? Right. Third party sources. Might have heard it.
Third party sources from the Andrew Thompson camp have reported.
From the Andrew Thompson camp may have reported this information. I might have heard it from John. Might have heard it from Wade. Right. Might have heard it from Brandon from New Jersey. Might have heard it from Braden, Davey, John Cena. Might have heard it from Chris. Chris probably told me he ain't tell you, Nate. I don't know what's going on.
You never know with Chris, but your sources are correct, Andrew, because we do have a fourth man on the show this month. He's not so much a guest, ladies and gentlemen, as he is a part of the family. He's an honorary advocate. Y'all know him, Post Wrestling family. Y'all know this man from so many great appearances on MCU later, and now he is back again with the advocates. Y'all give it up from the torch. Rich Fann. Rich, what's good, brother?
Not much once I get my technology working. It is a pleasure to be on here. I'm happy to be back with you guys. And if there's anyone I would rush home from a hockey game for my son, it would be the Nubian Wrestling Advocates, my man Nate, the professor, and of course the youngest in charge. The appreciation's for you, Andrew. I don't know. I appreciate the love in the pre-show green room, but you do so much that I feel like I'm tired reading what you did.
Oh,
I know, right? Yeah.
That's love, Rich. That's love. I appreciate you, man. Much love for real.
Yo, it's all appreciate. So Andrew, I appreciate Rich for 3 reasons. Number one, just because we love the brother. He's always informative and entertaining anytime he comes on. That's reason number one. Reason number 2 is because Rich made time for us tonight out of his busy schedule, and we appreciate his time. But reason number 3, and Chris, you know where I'm going with this. I'm very appreciative, Rich, that this month on the podcast, you ain't got no naked people running behind you.
Nope.
We ain't trying to get in trouble with the FCC, brother.
Yeah, we ain't bringing down the post. Like the last thing I needed was for Way or for John to be like, listen, we appreciate the guest host. We wish you the best in your future endeavors and be on your way, sir.
Yeah, but yeah. So we PG, at least visually. We PG this week. But Andrew, we got some stories that might not be rated PG. Can you kick things off this week, brother, and let us know what our top story for the month of October is?
So this is a loaded one, Nate. Of course, we've been talking about this for the past month from we recorded the first episode, not the first episode, but the first conversation we had about this situation last month in September about the CM Punk Elite situation. There have been quite a few updates, to say the least, my brother. So since we last talked, we're going to sort of break this down like piece by piece. And before we even get into the CM Punk, because that's a whole thing on its own. I feel like we should focus on the other portion of it, which is the Elite. But since the last time we talked, it had been reported by Dave Meltzer of FOW Online that the producer A Steel, he is no longer under contract to AEW. For those who may not be up to speed, A Steel is the one who decided to turn into Count Dracula and bite Kenny Omega. That's what he did. He is also the individual that reportedly threw a chair at Nick Jackson. As far as the Elite goes, Kenny Omega, Nick, and Matt, they are seemingly back in the mix of AEW. A vignette aired this past Wednesday on Dynamite, which, seemingly but all hinted that they're going to be back with the company soon. It was like this vignette of like their biggest moments in the company and them vanishing from those moments. And, the premise of the vignette, from what I took from it, was what would AEW be without the Elite? And it even showed in the graphic, like if you take the way the Elite out of AEW is no longer AEW type thing. And they win Nate's neck of the woods out there in Norfolk, Virginia. And it was reported by PW Insider that the Elite were actually backstage. All 3 of them were present. And, like from just the report, it seemed like everybody was happy to see him and everything was all smooth. And, the Elite are definitely back in AEW, and it's just a matter of when they're going to be back. Before we get into anything CM Punk, like, let's sort of touch on those first 2 points, brother Nate. A Steel is gone. He is no longer under contract to AEW, and also the Elite are back. So just to get your take on first the A Steel thing, then the Elite. If you were running a professional wrestling company and you got word that one of your producers reportedly bit another wrestler during a fight, and then at that, this is and no slouch on any producer, because producers are very much a key piece to the on-screen product that gets presented in ring. But when you got the 3 dudes who you started this company with, and then you got another dude who came in the last year and has done your biggest business, and then you got another guy who is friends with one of those individuals, but he has bit one of your wrestlers and reportedly threw a chair at him. I'm assuming that most of us in this stream right now will probably be like, okay, if we had to choose anybody that gotta go, he gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, easily A Steel is the most expendable person in that mix. And it's like we're talking about a wrestling company here, Andrew, but we can even break it down simpler than that. This is office politics, right? And everybody, regardless of where your place of employment is, you've had to deal with this, right? And so whenever there are disputes, whenever there are confrontations, justice or punishment is not meted out equally, right? It's about your value to the company. It's about relationships that you have within the company. And it's about, like, what did you do? And so on all 3 of those counts, A Steel comes up short because, like, first of all, like you're doing good work as a producer, I guess. I don't know. Like, I'm not backstage. But how valuable are you really in that aspect? In terms of your relationship, like how strong is your relationship to the people that matter, meaning Tony and the EVPs? And then thirdly, you just can't be out here on these streets just biting people and then throwing. This ain't the Soul Awards, A-Steel. You just can't be throwing shares like it's 98, man. And so, like, that's an easy call for a company to make. It's like, yeah, you got to go. In terms of, the Elite being back, and Chris and Rich can speak to this as well, I think we all figured that was a no-brainer. It even in the stories that we heard, there were conflicting stories that were put out.
Mm-hmm.
The Elite seem to be the ones, and I'm not somebody that's, out here to cape up for Kenny or the Bucks, but it's like they were the ones in harm's way, right? They were the ones that I feel like, were done the most dirty in all of the confrontation. And so, plus, like I said, their value to the company. They, like you said, they put out that vignette, and I did, kind of feel like they threw a little shade at Cody, man, because we love Devontae. We love Devontae around here, Rich Fann. So don't try to rewrite history and erase that man's contribution. But we knew they weren't going anywhere.
Yeah, that was Devontae erasure, and I won't stand for. I won't. Listen.
Talk to
they
him.
lucky this wasn't this. You lucky this wasn't MLK weekend, because let me tell you, the people would have been in the streets.
What's your take on all this, Rich, in terms of A-Steel being dismissed and the EVPs coming back?
I mean, honestly, it's a gots to go situation if you bite somebody. We talked about that right off the bat. Second thing I think is a big issue, and I'm sure we'll get to it, is like the way the reporting's going now in terms of stuff that we hadn't heard in several months, and stuff that people were kind of like added in. Like you said, they come in and they're welcome with a rocket, like they just came back from Nam and they're John Rambo and they got all the prisoners back, and it's just like, yeah, the Elite's back. And it's like, I don't know if it was like that. Like, these are laid back people for the most part. It's not like somebody started a slow clap and then everybody's clapping when they come out. Like, that's how I feel like the reporting's going. Like, they vanquished the evil, like, Generation X guy. Yeah, like they got rid of the iconoclast. It's like, you did it. Like, this is the end of Legend or something. Like, nah, I feel like that stuff kind of like, you got the banner falling down and then they super kick through it. But again, all this stuff fits right into them, because now you have it where, like you said, the Devontae erasure aside, they're treating it. I said when I was over at the Torch, it was like, they took Back to the Future and just made it a modern version where, like, you got the sister and the brother disappearing during Earth Angel. And it's like, okay, so you're going to play Johnny Be Good now and the leader going to come back? Like, what? I'm very confused by this. Like, the people who need to be fired got fired. Out of all the reporting, the only question I've had is, if you mentioned from a work standpoint, if the one person that wasn't down for dirt just stood there the whole time, you might want to interview that person. And for that, I mean A-Steel's wife.
Mm.
And yes, Bray, there ain't no naked people walking around this time. I'm not in Chicago. I'm not trying to get. We covered this. I am already on probation. Y'all trying to get me fired on a Saturday night.
I say, brother Chris, what's your take on all this? I know we dove into it last month, but like, we have a lot more details now.
Yeah. So I kind of feel the same way. I don't. Like I said last month, like I said in WrestleNomics this month, I do not feel that the Young Bucks and Omega are 100% in the right. I think that there is blame to be shared here. I think CM Punk is the second most wrong person in this situation, because that press conference was atrocious. It could have been avoided. It could have been avoided, yeah. But I do blame Tony Khan the most, because this was something that we all saw coming. I've been writing about toxic positivity ever since I joined WrestleNomics, and for the I think every month on this show we talked about issues in AEW that you could kind of see if you're looking at it with your third eye. You can kind of see the what's going on over there, and this story has gotten to the point where this is kind of embarrassing. This stuff really does in certain ways make me embarrassed to be a wrestling fan, or that I even cover this bullshit, because it's like, what the hell's going on with you people? But I am glad the Young Bucks and Omega are back, because I do think this is a learnable moment. This is a teachable moment, that you don't go to some angry dude's locker room for for everybody involved. And people have gotten on me on Twitter for my take. You're never going to convince me that after that dude cut that angry ass promo
with the muffins
and all that shit, that the best course of action was going to his locker room right after that. To me, that is a rookie business mistake. You're never going to convince me that that's anything other than a mistake, unless you can. If you feel, go get on the chat, super chats, whatever, and tell me why I'm wrong. But I do not think that was a right thing for them to do. I don't think that Punk was right for doing the press conference either. I think that there was a better way to handle this, and we'll get, like Andrew said, we'll get to the other layers of this.
Oh, yeah,
I've got opinions on Jericho and all those other people, because I do have strong opinions on everybody involved in this shit. So let's just move.
Yeah, real quick, Andrew, before we get to the next part, I do want to let everybody watching know that, as Chris mentioned, the easiest way, the quickest way, the most expedient way, the most expeditious way, Rich Fann, to get your voice heard on the show this month is to hit that super chat button, smash that super chat button, and let your voice be heard. And we will be monitoring the chat all night. But Andrew, continue to lead us down deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole of what's going on with AEW.
Yeah, just to add on to what Chris said, like, just to bring up a conversation we had last month about Tony Khan. Like, I also think it's a thing of like different people and how like they handle different situations. Like, we sort of talked about this last time. Like, Tony Khan may not be like the confrontational individual, or maybe not the one to be like, hey, I can't imagine Tony Khan like snatching a microphone or cutting CM Punk off in the middle of that. Like, I can't see him as that dude. And there's some people that are that person that will do that will snatch the microphone out of his hand and be like, bruh, chill out. Like, you need to go somewhere, or you need to go to the back and sort whatever you got to sort out, and then handle that how you gonna handle that. I know all of us said this collectively last time. Tony Khan is just not that, and that's not like a negative thing. Like, some people just not confrontational, and that's okay. And like with the elite, oh, you go, Chris.
No, you go finish your thought, Andrew. Sorry about that.
No, I was just about to say, like, with the elite coming back, I'm curious as to, like, I don't think it's gonna be a negative reaction at all. I think they're gonna probably get a big ass pop when they come back. Yeah, I'm just curious to like what their first promo, like live in front of the crowd, is gonna be like, and if they'll make like like little small references or little hints and stuff like that, or like just little like funny little stuff that they might
they will.
Like, like I'm more so curious about like what's that first reaction like in front of the crowd is gonna be like. I'm like 100% positive they're gonna get like a big reaction. Like, I don't think it's gonna be negative in any way, but I'm just curious as like what that's gonna be like for them, of course, with this whole situation just looming over. Like, you can't just like this thing is like happening, like, it's not like some inside thing. Like, we all know about this stuff, so I think that's gonna be one of the more interesting things as the elite eventually make their way back onto TV.
Right. And my thing with Tony Khan is the press conference. We've talked about this ad nauseum, guys. Last month, I don't know if I was Tony Khan. I don't know what I would have done in the middle of that press conference. I don't blame Tony Khan for that at all. I blame him for the first time that CM Punk had that reaction to the Hangman promo.
Oh yeah, you talking about live TV?
Yeah, on live TV where he had that reaction and he called him out.
Yeah,
that should have been handled then. Right. That because you saw it bubbling and you saw the potential for it escalating to this point. And this is something. And if TK didn't see the potential for it, then he needs to really do a deep cleaning of what's going on in his company, because I saw that shit coming. I wrote an article about the toxic positivity in that place. So this is why I look at TK in this situation and be like, okay, you got to be better. The Young Bucks, they're new to management, so I don't blame them. I don't blame Kenny Omega that much, but I do think that from here on out, and somebody in the comments said something about, didn't CM Punk tell them to come see me or something like that. And like I said last month, just because they tell you, the Asian person tells you to come and see them, does not mean that.
Right, it's not a contract. You're not obligated to go see them.
Yeah. That is like that. If it's the streets, if it's South Central LA, if it's Newport News, Virginia, if it's somewhere where it gets pretty violent and real, then yeah, go ahead and see the person. But we're talking about a business setting. In a business,
about the job.
Yeah, we're talking about the job. You wait for cooler heads to prevail, and then you talk to the guy. You don't do that right in the middle of something like that. And I think that's it, because there is a potential for that still happening in AEW. And I hope if it does happen again,
it happened with Andrade and Sammy.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. And I said this in the article that I wrote. I said, if you remove CM Punk, do these beefs just magically disappear and go away? And they don't. They're gonna keep happening until TK has a deep dive into the psychology of people who work in that organization, because this shit ain't gonna stop. It's not.
Hey, Chris. Hold on, Andrew, because Chris just said two magical words. And if you say deep dive 3 times, Rich Fann will appear on your TV screen. So, Rich, real quick before we get to Andrew's point, what do you think about what Chris is saying in terms of, is this a deeper issue than just a CM Punk thing? Is this something that might be a foundational structural problem? And I don't want to overblow it, but is there something that Tony Khan might need to look inward on?
To Chris's point, I'd go a step before the Punk situation. He should have nipped it in the bud when the Cowboy went off script, because that's the guy taking a shot at a guy that brought you $1 million gate. You need to be like, you need to chill.
Right.
And I see a lot of folks in the comments saying that's really, Tony isn't the person that's going to be like in the middle of an interview, in the middle of a scrum, because I want folks to think about the setting that they were in, because I was there for Forbidden Door, and during the Forbidden Door scrum, you had a similar situation, but it was with a wrestler that people haven't talked about, and that was with Switchblade Jay White. Everybody else came in for the scrum, and they were ready to talk.
Right.
Jay White came in character, so he's cussing everybody out. He's yelling at people who are in the front row, myself included, to help him pick up the belt. He's cussing Tony out for not having his belt displayed properly. And then he's going into his, let's answer questions like this is the Japanese media and they're going to play along. If Tony already had that on tape of like people checking him in public. And just like Sammy, you can only have so many times you get checked in public on tape before you got to react. And by the end of that, you saw Tony react when people were asking questions. Right. And he's like, I'm sick of it. I got more money than the freaking NWA ain't got nothing on me. He basically turned it to the end of training day. He was like, he was just like getting on the table. Was like, is this how it's going to be?
I live here. You just pay rent.
Right. He was channeling his inner Alonzo Harris. Yeah.
Yes.
And so that led to
all of you reporters, Rich Fann, you're going to be making sneakers playing basketball in Pelican Bay when Tony Khan gets through with you.
Listen, he turned into, I'm not the biggest fan of his politics, but he turned into the doctor from Any Given Sunday. He's like, I remember when you were just an intern buying me some scripts. Now all of a sudden you're going to try to get me out my job.
James Woods, yeah.
Yeah, when he was getting mad at his backup doctor, when he's like, we can't write that script for Shark. We can't do that. And so that's what Tony ran into. And then you add in, and I've said this on the tort side of things, and I wrote an article similar to how the professor did on the issue of all of the stuff that Punk did would have got him maybe talked to, maybe would have gotten him a little slap on the wrist. The thing that got him to the point where everybody was like, you got to get out, and there was like kill the beast and they're chasing him with pitchforks, is once he said, I'm trying to run a business.
Yeah.
And he's saying, I'm surrounded by children. Like,
Right,
you over there
right.
talking to a dude who's a legit scion of a billionaire, and you're like, I'm trying to run a business. And I've said this, I wrote it, I told it to Wade, I've said it to anybody that'll listen.
Yeah.
He never would have said that in front of Vincent Kennedy McMahon, because he knew he would have been chopped in the throat.
And Brandon Thurston talked about that a couple of weeks ago on WrestleNomics. He mentioned it. Now, I'm trying to run a business here. Like, no, you're the fuck not, CM. You are an employee of the company. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, you can't be. And I think this is CM Punk's problem in this situation.
Mhm.
I think CM Punk really thought he was just going to do that press conference and nothing was going to happen to him. I think he thought he was going to talk shit about everybody he wanted to talk shit about, check Tony Khan because he does bring in a lot of money. And he had a, and I don't want to do this to CM Punk, but I kind of have to. He had a Kanye West moment. He had a Kanye West moment. Kanye West a week or two ago said that he could say anti-Semitic shit from Adidas and they can't get rid of him.
Lo and behold.
Yeah, his N-word card got checked.
Forget Adidas. You can't even get in the sketches now, my guy.
Right, yeah. You can't get the Skechers. Balenciaga ain't fucking with you.
School got canceled.
Yeah, school ain't in session no more. So I mean, CM Punk, this was just that press conference was a bad step in judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do wish that he wouldn't have done that. But
to be fair though, and I'll let you finish, Chris. To be fair to Punk though, and I'm not excusing his actions. I'm just putting it
none of us
in I'm just putting it in a historical context. In the history of this business, the biggest star in the company usually can get away with stuff like that, right?
Right.
And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not, we didn't talked about Terry on this program, Rich. Some of the stuff Terry did, some of the bad dudes in this business. And this is the most second chancingest business in the world if you're a star, and particularly if you're a white male star. And so from that mentality, like, again, I'm not saying it's right, Chris, but I can see where he's like, what are you going to do to me? I'm CM Punk.
Exactly.
You're some kid with some money. I'm trying to run a business. Let me do my thing, kid.
But what's crazy to me is, like, when you look back at just a year ago and where he was versus where he is right now, CM Punk came back and got one of the biggest return moments that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Came back, was heralded, beloved. This company was ready. Not even ready. They were ready to crown this man. And then, like, you look at, and they did. Like, he won the AEW World title, had his big moment at Double or Nothing.
He made Rampage relevant for like 3 months.
Had a banger matches with Daniel Garcia and Powerhouse Hobbs. He put old let me say that he put old Powerhouse Hobbs big with that that promo when he said, I didn't beat Hobbs, I said Hobbs. I was like, I like that. But bro, just fast forwarding to where we are right now. It's crazy how much has changed in 1 year. Like, it is crazy, like how things went, like just from that one promo that Chris mentioned, that Hangman promo, and how things just went downhill from there. And you want to know what? To be honest with you, bro, like I don't think we'll ever know officially until unless Punk speaks about it. But I'm talking about this specific thing, bro. I think that him having that Hangman promo, and on top of that, him getting injured right before Forbidden Door, I feel like that messed with him a little bit, because of course, this dude just won the world title. I'm talking about just won the world title. Your first night back, you get injured, and I don't know if it's been officially confirmed that that's how he got injured. But when he jumped the guardrail, and it looked like he hurt his foot when he came out. Like it didn't know going into that, knowing that the idea was for you to share the ring with Hiroshi Tanahashi at Forbidden Door. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, I'm pretty sure that sort of weighed on him, even though he came back like several months later. But like, it's just crazy to like think back to just 1 year ago how he was being heralded as AEW's like just that's their new guy. And now, fast forward the years later, we don't even know if he's ever going to be back in the company again. So, and y'all saw what Walker AC said.
I'm looking at this.
Slowly turning into Herb Abrams UWF.
Damn, not the UWF.
Yeah,
but brother, you go ahead, Chris.
No, I'm gonna defend CM Punk a lot more than the rest of the wrestling media has been defending him this week on this
because you too, much like Phillip Brooks, are somebody that gets angry over breakfast and talk shit about your boss.
Right. If I was eating all those muffins and shit and donuts and whatever the fuck CM Punk was eating, I would have been shutting the fuck up and enjoying that breakfast. That's me.
Bro. Hey, bro, did y'all see NXT's Idris and All Fame and Elite Blade? They did a spoof of All Out.
I saw that. Yeah.
Hey, bro, they funny as hell. But speaking of CM Punk, how about we get into the CM Punk portion of this?
Let's go, Andrew.
Right.
Hey, you wanna know what? I think we should let our guest, Rich Fann, get his first crack at this, and then we can follow up with Chris, and then brother Nate, me and you can finish it off. So look, details came out from Fightful Select that Chris Jericho. Of course, Chris Jericho, the same man who we assume relayed this information about that situation he had with MVP those years ago. I don't know if y'all remember that, but
I remember.
But details came out from Fightful Select that Chris Jericho approached CM Punk after the situation at All Out, clearly unhappy about where that occurred, and he told CM Punk to his face that he was a cancer to the locker room and a detriment to the company. It is not known exactly what Punk said to Jericho, like the exact wording, but the sentiment was something along the lines that it was not Jericho's business and he needed to get out of there. A talent in AEW relayed to the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Punk they feel Punk won't be back and his value on screen is not worth the hassle that he is backstage. Rich Fann, take it away.
All right, so this screams, like you just said, Andrew, what happened with MVP. Like, you already had this fight. You already got all this stuff going on, and y'all can see me, so I'm going to back up again. So you got him running. Don't come back. That's basically what he did.
Chris Jericho, man. Jesus.
That's him. That's it. Listen, between that, and then remember, he was the first guy to, allegedly, sources close to him were the first people to leak the team meetings where he was like, "This is my club. Like, this is what I do. I kiss this badge." Like, he is that dude who's just like try hard McGee right now. Right. And he's like, "I run it." You know who haven't said nothing? The other two members of that triumvirate, Moxley and Danielson. Those guys just lead, and they don't need to say, like, "Listen, guy, this is my house. I do this right." Like, he's like, "I am the captain now," and everyone's like, "We ain't said nothing to you, man. Like, this is a honorable cruise line. What are we doing?"
Well, I'm so glad Rich Fann is saying all this, because now I don't feel like I'll be the outsider when I say the shit that I got to say. Because
listen, Chris. Before you start, like, because we got to talk about the elephant in the room, because my man stay bringing people on his show that may or may not be able to know where they were on the night of January 6th, and including people married to him.
Right.
And so
people in his own family.
So this ain't the first time my man's what I'm trying to say is closely involved with attempts to overthrow situations. Right. So I'm just gonna put that out there. That's called the Irvine Combine. Like, you got to run 5 yards. You got to get somebody fired, run another 5 yards, throw a brick through a window, run 5 yards, scream freedom, and then that's the combine.
Damn, hashtag Irvine Combine. Take it, Chris.
Yeah, man. I read an excellent article from Rich Fann's head honcho, Wade Keller. It was a great article. This is one of my favorite articles Wade Keller ever wrote. If you are not subscribed, get your subscription to the PW Torch, because that was an excellent article. So shout out to Wade Keller.
Shout out to Keller.
As far as Chris Jericho goes, this is secondhand information that was reported, so I want to be very careful.
Reported.
Yeah,
not the reporting, but I'm talking about from the person it came from. Wink, wink.
Yeah, I don't want to assign anything to Chris Jericho that he doesn't deserve to be assigned to him. But CM Punk is more valuable than you, Jericho. Shit, like you're like if all you can contribute to this shit is CM Punk, you're a cancer to the locker room, then fuck that guy, man. Because I like to me, it's like that sentiments like that are not making things better, in my opinion. It's like, and I was listening to all the wrestling media this last week, and there are a lot of people that were praising Jericho for that shit. I thought that was a MAGA move from a MAGA guy.
MAGA move.
Yeah, I thought that was a MAGA, and I say this as somebody that understands that Jericho is very friendly with people from this network, so I take that into consideration.
Yeah. Don't get fired, Chris.
But I don't think I'm going to get fired for this.
That's what Phillip Brooks thought too.
Well.
You telling me the Canadian block gonna shut you down, Chris? Is that what happened?
I'm just saying, how is him calling this guy a cancer to the locker room helping anything out? You know what I'm saying? It's all you are doing is pouring gasoline to a fire. CM Punk is I don't think he was right in that press conference. I'll say that a million times. I am never going to praise somebody going on a rant like that in front of their boss and then just banging on people like that. I think he owes an apology he doesn't owe an apology to the people that he's angry at, but I do think he owes an apology to that locker room. I think that's just the fair thing for CM Punk to do. If he can't do that, then he probably deserves to be let go. But as far as like CM Punk, as far as Chris Jericho and, calling the guy a cancer to the locker room and, shit like that, to me, it's just an asshole thing to do. And I'll let you guys talk now, but when because it'll pour out of me through the course of this conversation. So
I just wanted to add, okay, so just to touch on the surface of the whole situation, so if CM, if he really is as described, I'm talking about as far as them saying that him being in the company and what he can add from a value / attraction wise is not worth just the black cloud that he cast backstage. If it's genuinely that bad, then okay, then yeah, he need to go. You don't need to be there. If the shit is literally that bad to where they saying the phrase is black cloud over the locker room and black cloud over the company and he's just not worth it at all, then yeah, it's time. But also with Jericho doing that, I do agree with Chris's point to an extent that it's not helping nothing. You're not moving shit along. The only thing you're moving along is CM Punk on the outs. That's the only thing that's being moved along. But at the same time, and I clown Jericho for a lot of stuff. I'm talking about just strict, not most of the stuff, not even wrestling. No, none of it mostly. It's just more for that dumbass shit that he does outside the ring and
he's a valuable guy.
Valuable dude, and being at the rally and that all lives matter stuff that he was doing, in 2020 that I would never forget because he was showing his ass like it wasn't nothing. But you know what? We're gonna put that to the side. Well, I'm gonna put it on the back burner for a little bit.
Right.
For a little bit. But the thing is, going back to what Chris said, it doesn't move anything forward. The only thing it does move forward is pushing CM Punk on the outs, which assumingly he was on the outs coming out of that press conference because I'm assuming that a lot of people thought he was in the wrong. And I mean, sometimes you gotta just call people when they shit. And you gotta step to him, and he reportedly stepped to him and told him that to his face. And from what was reported, and it seemed like CM Punk had much pushback in turn outside of that he said that it wasn't any Jericho's business and he needed to roll out. So I mean, again, just to repeat, I don't really know what else to possibly say, but if he was legit that bad, and it got that bad to the point where he was becoming intolerable, then I mean, yeah, bro, you gotta go. And I mean, they're doing fine. You know what I'm saying? They're doing fine without him. But I'm pretty sure from a promoter perspective, when you boil it down to would you rather have or not have CM Punk? You would rather have CM Punk.
Yes.
Like, come,
Right,
like
yeah.
let's be completely real.
Yeah.
And you know, like
especially Andrew, like in a climate where let's not forget who the parent company of the network that they're on is, right?
Yeah.
And what they're going through right now with Warner Brother Discovery, right? It's uncertain times for their network partner. And so it's like you would want to be able to have the biggest and brightest stars available to you on your program. In terms of what Jericho did, Andrew, I put it to you like this, bringing it back to anybody's office. Like let's say we got Jerry over here, right? Jerry always show up late. Jerry always leave early. You know, Jerry is just not a great worker. And eventually Jerry pisses the wrong people off, right? And so one person starts talking about Jerry, then two people, and after a while, Rich Fann, the whole office is turned against Jerry. And then you got Larry. I don't know why I went with the rhyme there. It just happened, folks. You got Larry
talking about CM Punk dog. Why you talking about CM Punk dog, man?
Yeah, I don't know why. I was thinking about the dog, but you got Larry in accounting who's like, oh yeah, by the way, Jerry parked in my parking spot last week. Let's get rid of him, guys, because I'm leading from the back.
And then it keeps spilling out. It keeps
right.
Going.
It like Chris says, he's just adding fuel to the fire. And to Rich's point earlier, yes, you know, you can't take anything away from what Chris Jericho has meant to this business and what he probably means to this company, but it does feel a bit like he's leading from the back.
Yeah. He's also kind of he's very much ingrained himself. And I want you guys to kind of talk about this because I'd love your opinion on it. He seems to me to have realized very quickly, and that's 20 plus years in the business. I get that Punk had Khan's ear in a way he did. And so now removing him, he's back to kind of being the top dog. And he's also realized that Tony, we just said it from the very beginning of this conversation this week or this month. Tony isn't the type of owner, type of boss that's going to break on you. He's not. That's not what he is. He's a lover. He's a like lead from the front, build you up. But
Kumbaya.
He needs an Undertaker. That's his Undertaker now. Jericho has placed himself as that guy in the locker room that's going to bite your tail off because he now thinks he's got the green light from the boss. And now with this new contract and this new side job, he does.
Real quick. Because I was just going to say real quick, Andrew, like Rich knows this from coaching, right? Like if you're a player's coach, if you're the nice coach, that's cool. You can win that way. But at some point on your staff, you're going to need that foot in the ass coach, right? Like there needs to be a bit of a balance, the carrot and the stick. And like the way that you kind of frame that, like Jericho knows what he's doing, man.
Bro,
exactly.
The way Rich worded that brings like a whole different type of conversation into it. Like now he clearly, like just piggybacking off what Rich said, he clearly has gotten himself into a position of if not more power than he already. And I want to make sure I use the right word because I don't want to say power like he's fucking running the joint.
Like influence.
But influence. That's the perfect word. Influence. And now
influence.
Let's say now that CM Punk is like on the outs, you need somebody else to sort of fill that void. Right. I mean, you have your John Moxleys, you have your Bryan Danielsons, but I'm talking about just from this specific report that we're talking about. It seems like Jericho has assumed that position to be like the enforcer, if that's the right word. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. But go ahead, Chris.
No, influence is a form of soft power. So hard power is authority. Hard power is when you are in charge and you have the ability to fire people and get rid of them and make sure that they do not work here again. You could put them in jail. You could do that's hard power. Soft power is influence. Soft power is charismatic power. Like you use your charisma and you use your appeal to get people to be over to your side. So letting it spill to the media that you said CM Punk was a cancer to the locker room is a form of soft power to get every fucking AEW fan
to turn against them.
To be like, yes, Jericho's right. CM Punk is a cancer to the locker room. Screw CM Punk. You know, we see through you. I'm glad brought it up because I didn't know how this conversation was going to be today. Because I was not here for the Jericho caping. I don't look at Jericho as a good guy in this situation. I think, I respect Jericho as far as being a wrestler is concerned.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think he stepped up in the middle of this muck of nonsense, and he did what he had to do.
And even injuries, I give him props on that. Like when people with injuries stepped up.
Yeah, he did all of that. So props to Jericho, and I can skip over the MAGA stuff for now. But props
just a little
to
bit,
Jericho.
Chris, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But calling CM Punk a cancer to the locker room and letting shit like that spill to the wrestling media so you can be the guy,
the savior, the
savior. To me, that shit is cheap. It's played out, and CM Punk is, and you can hate CM Punk, you know what I'm saying? Just like you can hate Brock Lesnar, but these guys do bring something to the table. Now, what Wade Keller mentioned in that article that he wrote, he said CM Punk isn't like an extreme game changer. I forgot the terminology that he used, but he said CM Punk is a needle mover. He's not like, AEW isn't gonna turn into
like business defining type of like
yeah, but he does what he does.
Right.
If Tony Khan decided he was going to keep CM Punk and the rest of the locker room was cool with it, I see nothing wrong with Tony Khan working things out with CM Punk if that's something that he wanted to do. If firing him is the best move, then that's what he's got to do. But Jericho, man, shut the fuck up.
And I just want to do a quick thing. I want to get a temperature check from you guys, because one of the things that came out of this report was it was main eventers and highly ranked people in the company that specifically then added to the rank and file of, we don't want this guy.
Yeah.
Let's think about the main eventers. Jericho, Moxley, Danielson, MJF.
Right.
Anybody else out of that crew? How many people are actually?
I'm about to say, and MJF was one of the people that they said was present for the situation that unfolded backstage at Dynamite. He got interviewed for the thing.
Right. So out of that group, who's gonna be the person that starts leaking stuff? Moxley's not gonna do it because he doesn't care. Yeah. Danielson doesn't care.
Exactly.
They're like, both of them have the same job description, guys. I have kids and I want to go on TV and bleed. Like that was the whole, like, can I do that? Sign me up.
Yeah.
And so Jericho's the only one left that's going to be able to talk to people and be like, I hand to God, I joked with, I think it was Benno who wrote the quotes up from the Observer, because I hadn't looked at my issue yet. And I was like, I could hear this in between an ad read for Talk is Jericho. Like I could hear it in his voice, like every quote. And now if he didn't do it, hand to God, my sorry, whatever.
Yeah, right.
This is a continuation of, like you just mentioned with Tony. If Tony wanted to do this and just say, I forgive Punk, I talked with him, we squashed it, people would be cool. But when you now have your consigliere telling you everybody hates this dude, you can't, because then you're going to be seen as the boss is bringing in the bully.
Right. And I'm not going to contribute to that kind of pile-on, especially coming from someone like a Jericho, man. I just like the track record is just too shoddy for me to just be like, oh, well, Jericho said this, so it must be true, man. I just can't do that. And this is an easy situation for people to just kind of latch onto. I've been in situations where people will kind of soil somebody's name in the workplace, and then it spreads over to everybody in the workplace.
And it turns into a whole other thing of its own than the original thing.
Right. Yeah. So, and I don't think that is fair to CM Punk. You know, and if you disagree, please mention it in the chat because we will definitely highlight it. But I just think that and this is, again, because I think we keep having to do these qualifiers. So I do not think CM Punk was right for that press conference. I think he was all the way wrong for it. I've already mentioned last month when they were talking about kick down the door, not kick down the door. To me, that's a small part of what happened there. I don't even think that matters.
That we don't even like. I mean, it's been reported multiple times, but like stuff like stuff like that. Like, I'm talking about like small details like that, and it's not really small. It's things that matter. But like I feel like you need to hear it directly from the people that's involved in order to get like a, because I mean stuff does get like along the way when it gets passed on, stuff does get twisted and over dramatized. And bro, you ever like, I'm talking about not even just in wrestling, like you could even be like in like anyday life, like you would see somebody get in a fight, right? And they'll tell a certain story and they'll like over dramatize. Oh, you remember when I hit him and he flew back and then he fell to the ground and then he did a double backflip and like, you know what I'm saying? People, like stuff gets over dramatized, but I'm not saying I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm talking about when you have a situation like that, it's always the best to get it directly from the source in order to have a fair and precise opinion on it, because stuff can get misconstrued along the way as it gets passed on through this third party information.
Yeah, and then the kick down the door stuff.
On top of that, and it got reported by Wrestling Inc. that, you know, the dog literally got hit in the face and he had to like, you know what I'm saying, all that stuff. So and that just came out. Like that didn't come out with the initial stuff. That just hit.
Yeah, and you know, that could be fabricated or not. I don't know. The kick down the door stuff to me is a semantic, because let me tell you something. Anytime my mother came into my room, whether I go visit her out of state at their house in North Carolina, or whether it was whether she's visiting me in Los Angeles, anytime she comes in and opens my door, when I describe it to people, she's kicked down the goddamn door.
Bust down my door.
That's what I say.
Chris, you see what I'm saying though, right?
So to me, the wrestling media saying, well, he didn't really kick. That is stupid. To me, that is a stupid part of the story to be hung up on. They barged into his room or his locker room. They went in there and they weren't welcome. That's the gist of it. The kick down the door part is, you can take that and mean what you want it to mean, but the kick down the door part is kind of, who cares about that?
He said my mother used to
my mom anytime my mom used to come to my room, it was her kicking down the door.
Exactly.
That's the way I described it. It's like she's just come and kick down the door. You could be playing video games with a chick and she'd be like kicking down the door.
Shout out to moms.
Nate,
shout out to moms.
So in the last part of this story, I told y'all this first part of this conversation was gonna take us like a whole hour. I told y'all.
Yeah, I know, right?
So the last part of this story, the last part of this CM Punk saga, and I sort of want to let everybody get their chance to sort of weigh in on it. I'm sure everybody has sort of seen the reports about the potential buyout of CM Punk's contract and, you know, him becoming a free agent. You know, just a quick recap, going to you, Nate, first. Just the high and the low of CM Punk's return run, what you make of it, and, you know, how it started, how it ended, and then can you even see a world with CM Punk? I mean, it is.
Don't do it, Andrew. Don't do it.
If CM Punk goes back to WWE, can you wait, Nate? Just knowing the history between look at Rich, but Nate, just knowing the history between CM Punk and Paul Triple H Levesque, who is now the head of creative. And then on top of that, Nate, you got Brian Road Dogg James, who's an executive. And Nate, I don't know if you keep up much with Road Dogg's podcast.
I keep up with this stupid shit he says online.
Chris, you see it, but Nate, just like I'm bro, when I say I'm not gassing this at all, like I'm being so serious. He talks shit about CM Punk on every, like, from the episodes that I've listened to. And Rich has seen some of this stuff. He probably
Yeah.
seen some of the contact and heard some of this stuff. Bro, he talks shit about this dude every time. Talking about like nothing nice to say about this dude at all. I just can't see Punk in an environment where you have a guy who's actively shitting on him on a weekly basis in an executive role. Who is, and people look at Road Dogg's position. He's the executive or the president of like putting together like the live event stuff. Yeah. He's more than that, because it got reported when Triple H was out with COVID, Road Dogg was the guy that was filling in that spot, like that was running the ship over at Monday Night Raw. So clearly bigger than some live event, whatever title he got. Like he clearly more power than that. Nate, can you see a world where CM Punk is back in WWE, and if that were to ever happen, how long do you think it would be before some shit went down, and then we right back at square one, bro?
So again, not to be unfair to that man Phil Brooks, but Rich Fann, again, if you are at a workplace and you have a problem with one manager, and then that manager comes in and you got an issue with the new manager, and then they transfer you to a different department and you got a problem with that department's manager, at some point the problem might not be all those managers. The problem might be you, Rich Fann. And so for CM Punk, like we respect the dude, man. Like we know what he means to the business and what he means as a star in this business. And you know, you talk about his AEW run, that return on Rampage is still one of the biggest moments in that company's history. You know, I think his run with the company, the first few months were pretty strong, where he was putting over, you know, the cats like Darby and of course Powerhouse Hobbs, and you know, he's having really good matches. The middle and the end, not so great due to injury as well as interpersonal conflicts. But you know, you can't say that AEW did not get their money's worth from CM Punk. You know,
they got it. They got
their money's worth from CM Punk. And so the question then becomes, Andrew, what's next, right? So let's say they do buy out his contract. Do I see a scenario? Do I see a world where CM Punk goes back to the WWE? Andrew, anything is possible. Kevin Garnett once told us when he won a championship, Rich, in Boston, anything is possible. KG, I don't think this is possible, because there is too much, right? The only way that this is a possible thing is if it is a extremely short-term thing. Like I'm talking about a month, because anything longer than a month, it is going to blow up. It is going to detonate.
Hey, Nate, do you think it could work under a part-time situation where Punk comes in like Brock?
Even with that, Andrew, like even with a part-time situation with the combustible element of CM Punk, I feel like the most you're gonna get is maybe 2 or 3 pay-per-views before that dude is like, I thought I was working with kids over there. Now they got kids over here too. Somebody get me a muffin. I can't do this no more, man. I'm 45 years old. I'm tired, bro. Yeah. So I think that after a while, and again, this is no shade to CM Punk, man, because the dude has been in the game for a minute, and Rich, you know, you, me, Chris, you know, maybe not so much the youngest in charge, but after a certain point, when you cross that threshold of 30 and then you cross that other threshold into your 40s, man, it's like your tolerance level for the minutia and the BS at work becomes shorter and shorter. And so, yes, there is a CM Punk problem to all of this, but there's also like an age problem. Like Punk has kind of grown into the wrestler that he despised when he was in his 20s. He's like, when he was in his 20s, he banged against dudes like that. And now that he's in their position, he's kind of like, oh, it ain't so bad. You know, it's like we all say, like, I'm not going to be like my parents were. But if you get to a certain age, you start to say certain things that your mom and dad used to say. Do certain things that your mom and dad used to do. And it's just kind of the natural progression of life. So I feel like there's always a chance in wrestling if the money is right, you know, in terms of what Punk could bring to the WWE, Andrew. But I don't see
money
that
talk,
man.
Nate. That money talk, though, Nate. That money talk. Hey, real quick, before we get off of this, I wanted to kick it over to Rich and Chris. I wanted to get y'all take on this. Like, just a quick little funny thing. Can y'all imagine the amount of stuff that's going to resurface if CM Punk were to go back to WWE? I'm talking about like just past interviews, past stuff that he said, like just shitting on the company. Bro, that's gonna look so bad, bro.
This you tweets, Andrew.
The dish you tweets, And then on top of that, they already doing it with whenever something has happened, and like they bring up the Triple H promos and the John Cena promos. Like, bro, I can only imagine like his Twitter feed if he were to go back and people like just the amount of like that, like they just said, the dishes you tweets. Like, I feel like for like the first couple months of that, it's gonna be bad, bro. Like, because I mean, you like when you say all it, bro. It's and this is something we're gonna talk about a little later. It's like with Carl Anderson. He had that tweet out. He was like, I never go back to WWE. I don't care if it's Saudi. I don't whatever money they paying me. Guess who's scheduled for November 5th, Saudi Arabia? Carl Anderson. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, the shit that you say online, it will in the media stuff. If you renege on that stuff, it's you know what I'm saying. It's gonna look bad, and you gonna feel like people could. It's just anybody. You can act like you don't feel no type of way about it, but you're gonna feel some type of way about it. So and like when they said, I think it's a very slim chance that he goes back. Why I am of the belief that money does talk, and there is always a possibility. I think it might be if CM Punk does want to get back in the wrestling. I think it's a thing of like he'll have to take a look in the mirror, figure out like exactly what he wants. And I think it may be better for him. I don't know if he's willing to do it, but I think it may be better for him too in terms of like the public goodwill. If he was to like go on some like big fucking indie run and like just wrestle all the best independent wrestlers, hit these like, you know, prominent promotions like West Coast Pro and Prestige Wrestling and like all these different like independent promotions and like just sort of build up that goodwill. And then maybe if there is some type of opening and like people feel good about it again, then you never know. He might be walking back, bro. But
the reason I was laughing, Andrew, right there, real quick, Andrew, was because I get what you're saying, and it makes 100% sense. Like if you want to ingratiate yourself back to not only the business but also the fans, that's a great way to go. But I'm laughing because you know, Rich, again, like we talking about a 40-year-old dude.
Yeah.
He's like, he ain't doing that, man. Come on, brother.
There's no reason.
Yeah, not like him like grinding it, but I'm talking about like, you know, for big matches and stuff like that. Like if I'm just saying, if he wanted to like get embraced again, then like that would be probably the smartest way
CM Punk
to go.
ain't showing up in Raleigh, North Carolina for
a hot dog and a handshake.
Nah. Hey, bro. Hey, no, yeah. So, CM Punk. I just want to say shout out to that man because he just gave us an hour and hour of full content. Yeah. CM Punk, man. I think, but you go ahead, Chris. You finish it off before we move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I'm never surprised at anything in wrestling. Here's the thing about being a human being, and we have a 50% divorce rate in the United States of America. It might even be 55, 60%. I say all that to say, people are allowed to change their mind. You know what I'm saying? People will say, I love you forever. I'll never break up with you, divorce you. I'll never let you go. And then something happens. It's like, hey, I can't be with you no more.
Yeah. Or I bet you Tom Brady told Giselle, oh, this going to last forever, baby.
Yeah.
Sorry, the season started. I got to go.
Yeah. And at some point, sometimes people get back with exes too. That happens as well. The CM Punk is gonna do whatever is gonna be the most lucrative for him. You know, Road Dogg can talk all the shit he wants to talk. If Triple H can muster up a good role for him in WWE and CM Punk is down with it, CM Punk will be back in WWE. I'm hoping that I'm still holding on to hope that him and Tony Khan work out whatever is going on there. And not succumb to whatever brainwashing may or may not be going in the AEW locker room, because that does happen. You know what I'm saying? Where you turn this guy into a piece of raw meat and train people like they're attack dogs to hate this one person. I don't. If they can get over all of that and have a like really good conversation, maybe he'll be back in AEW. But if Triple H can see some value in him, I can totally. I said this last month. I said if AEW lets go of this guy, any of those guys, not just CM Punk, any of those elite guys.
Yeah.
Triple H would hire anybody of any kind of caliber or magnitude that could be of value to WWE. So don't be surprised if CM Punk ends up back in WWE. Because a motherfucker can change his mind. That's just that's just human nature. We do not have to commit to anything. You know, that is just we do these things like we get married in the hopes of not getting divorced, but sometimes things happen that make us change our minds. So that's all I'm saying about that. Yeah.
Before you move on, Andrew, I want to throw Rich Fann up on the full screen for everybody watching at home, because I want your reaction real time, Rich, to this comment.
Oh boy.
Punk versus Devontae, WrestleMania 40.
Who said that? That's Justin House that said that. Thank you for that comment, Justin House. That look at CM Punk versus Cody, CM Punk versus Roman. CM Punk would be the semi-main event of any WrestleMania card next year.
I mean, he could be the main event.
Yeah,
like if you can't get The Rock, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
The Iconoclast trying to bring down the one.
That's it.
Like, and that's why they're arguing over, because that's the thing. If he was such a damaged goods product that's being sold by the people talking in Tony's ear, they wouldn't need a non-compete. And so I think the positivity of it is the fact that he made that money for him, not even showing up. Remember, United Center sold out on a whim that he was going to be there.
It was a rumor, bro.
It wasn't a guarantee.
That was a rumor. Yeah.
And he sold that sucker out. And so if you have him go to WWE and he's going up against the juggernaut that is the Roman Reigns storyline and all the like, I just want to have a side conversation with him and Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
And that would be money. And then you add in him doing stuff because he'd have fun doing it because he's going to get paid a lot of money in NXT. And that's, I think, to Nate's point, and I'll end it here. I think him and Devontae would be a good lead into it. But I think him and Roman's the best thing, because if you're going to pay him as much money as you need to, because what I think is going to happen, and this goes back to Andrew's point, they got to give him a financial apology for what went down before he left.
Yeah.
And if he gets that financial apology, I don't care what you write on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Real simple. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So shall we get into the next story, fellas?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
CM Punk, thank you for the hour of content, man.
Appreciate it, Phil. We're gonna get John and Way to dip into the post wrestling kitty fund and send CM Punk a muffin basket from the Nubian Wrestling Advocates, man. We appreciate you, Phil.
So I want Rich Fann to start this one off right here, man. On the most recent episode of Rampage, that man Powerhouse Hobbs made his intentions clear that he is coming after the TNT Championship. Rich is real simple, man. Hobbs been in the company for several years now. He has had marquee moments. I'm not gonna sit there and say he hasn't. I'm not gonna bluff and say he has. He's been in the world tag title scene, like I mentioned, the match with CM Punk. And Rich, I'm pretty sure you probably saw some of this talk, like with him and Ricky Starks. After they headline Rampage Grand Slam this year, like they sort of disappeared from TV for a little bit. People were like, where the hell is the follow up? Like, where's Ricky Starks? Where's Hobbs? Real simple, Rich. Like, is it time, man, for Powerhouse Hobbs to finally get some gold in AEW?
Yeah, it absolutely is, because as much as we talk about Ricky and Hobbs, the biggest loser in the last year, and a lot of it has to do with MJF and a lot of it has to do with CM Punk, is Wardlow. I mean, granted, the thirst is still real. That will never leave the streets. Like, Wardlow thirst it contains multitudes. But him as champion really has been, what is it? And so if you give Powerhouse Hobbs the title, not only do you bring that as another level to the Ricky Powerhouse feud, but it kind of gives a little legitimacy to the embassy, which I'm like, I don't know if I need Prince Nana in 2022, but brother got a job, so I ain't going to say a word.
We love Prince Nana around here, former guest of the NWA podcast. Chris is
I got nothing against him.
Chris has got a lifetime membership to the Prince Nana seminar.
Uh-oh. You got a PhD in Nana? I didn't know that, Chris.
Nah. Look, man, I'm not. Prince Nana knows what's up, man. We and I love Nana, but I'm willing to see where everything goes, man. I really am.
Yeah.
I want to,
So with Powerhouse Hobbs, I definitely think it's time that he wins a title in AEW. Like he's been there several years. Like just like I mentioned, he's had moments in AEW. Like there have been times when there was like, oh yeah, we see those glimpses. Even when he was in Team Taz, like let's keep it a beam, right? When he came into Team Taz, he essentially overshadowed Brian Cage by not even doing anything. Hobbs was just there, and it was his presence that like sort of pushed Brian Cage to the wayside, and everybody was just more interested in Hobbs. And he wasn't even doing much or saying much. It was just the fact that he was there. So that I think that leads credence to that there is something there with Will Hobbs that you can further, go into, and that which is we already knew. And like just going back on what Rich said, I think it also by him winning the TNT title, that way you can bring Ricky up, give Ricky something to fight for. You know what I'm saying? Like bring him back on TV, and like he can go back and forth with Hobbs, and you can get about 2-3 matches out of that. Maybe even flip flop the title if you want to, or maybe let Hobbs get his 2 wins in, and then Ricky win the third one. However you want to go about that. And like even going back to when they was involved in the tag title scene, like I remember when I think it was a triple threat at Double or Nothing with Swerve and Our Glory, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, and Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. People were like, "Hey man, it's Ricky and Starks' time. I mean, it's Ricky and Hobbs' time. Like let's get the titles on them." So and I feel like especially with Hobbs, like I feel like especially with these wrestlers that you present as these monsters, quote unquote. I feel like it's only so much that you can do. I'm talking about as far as like there's only so many opportunities that you're going to get to legitimize them, like in a big way. And like one guy, like I'm not comparing them, but like just when I'm thinking about big men that had the opportunity to become real big, one of the first names that sort of comes to my head is Braun Strowman. And in terms of what WWE did with him back in 2017, when they just like gave this dude the Brock when he clearly should have been the one that should have beat him, and like they sort of missed the boat on that and trying to reroute it now. But like with Hobbs, I'm not saying they're doing that same thing with Hobbs, but you have an opportunity to have him beat somebody who is clearly, one of their big name stars in Warlow, one of their big up and coming stars in terms of somebody that's on the way up and could be potentially be AEW World Champion. You have a chance to have Hobbs get solidified, and then on top of that, you have another chance to consistently feature a talent like Ricky Starks, who everybody kind of assumably wants to see on TV. I know I do. So I definitely think that whenever they do it, because it's clear that he made an intention that that's his next step for his on-screen character. I feel like the next natural progression is for him to beat Warlow for the TNT title. And to be honest with you, bro, like I like Warlow. I'm not gonna say and bluff you and say I don't like Warlow. I like Warlow, but like this TNT title run hasn't been anything like special. Like anything remarkable. Like for most of it, he has been like, hey, that tag team guy. Hey, we need a 6-man, Wardlow, slot wrestler. And then, hey, Wardlow, hey, Samoa Joe, that's going to be our tag team. Ward Joe, keep it like, they can still do that. Shit, they can go out to the tag titles for all that. But like, I feel like with Hobbs, this is the time, bro. Like you put him in this spot. Now it's time to deliver and put the title on him. Let him get his shine. And then when it's time for Hobbs to pass it over, kick it over to Ricky.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you highlight this?
I was gonna say, Chris, before I give my thoughts on Powerhouse, I wanted to bring up this super chat. Appreciate the super chat, Chris. Mark sent you some mimosa money, dog.
Thank you for that, Mark. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, shout out to Mark. And again, if you want your comment to get to the front of the line, hit that super chat button. But for me, in terms of Powerhouse Hobbs, real quick. The biggest thing about this for me, Andrew, and I know you know where I'm going, nephew, is I'm so happy that Powerhouse Hobbs is finally getting to play interconference games. He's not stuck in the SWAC. He's not stuck in the MEAC. He doesn't have to play the Bayou Classic every week. He gets to branch out, and I think just a big old hoss fight, which is still something that's kind of a rarity in AEW. I think that's going to be a great feud between him and that man Wardlow. But also,
it's going to be banger.
I feel like Wardlow losing does not diminish Wardlow, in this feud.
Yeah.
And to the contrary, it frees Wardlow up to do more things, and it also elevates Powerhouse Hobbs, like you said. It elevates Ricky Starks down the line, and at some point, you've got to start pulling the trigger on these guys because something we've talked about. The main event scene was so crowded, and due to the imminent or possible departure of the person we spent an hour talking about tonight, that main event scene might be a little looser, a little freer, and we can start to mix in some more people. And so you've got to start getting guys like Hobbs and Starks ready to be believable on it. I mean, we believe it. All four of us here tonight believe that those dudes are main eventers, but you got to get the general AEW fan to believe in those guys, and the only way you're going to do that is through that elevation process. So I'm here for Wardlow and Hobbs. I'm here for Hobbs getting to step outside the SWAC and the MEAC, play some Big East teams, Rich. He's getting to play some Pac-12 teams, mix it up a little bit. So I'm here for that, man, because Powerhouse Hobbs is a dude that if you present him properly and if you bring him along at the right speed, he's going to be money in a year or so.
No Bethune-Cookman. No more Jackson State.
No,
let me tell you, Wardlow ain't SWAC. Wardlow ain't SWAC, Rich.
Yeah. What's diminishing Wardlow is the horrible booking that he's had to endure since he's won the TNT title. I do not care when I see Wardlow on television. It's just that simple. Samoa Joe is one of my favorite wrestlers probably ever. When he's with Wardlow, I do not care about what's on the TV screen.
You ain't got no love for War Joe, Chris?
The War Joe is just not appealing to me. I would, you know what? I'd actually be more interested in Brian Cage and Powerhouse Hobbs as like a tag team than I am at War Joe. I think.
Hey, Chris, you want to know what? I think that's probably going to be something that they go to. Like, I think Cage is going to be the one to challenge Joe at Final Battle. I think there's a chance that he might beat Joe. I don't know. I don't know how certain I am about that, but I think there is a chance. And
right.
That's what I'm like. So if that is the case, like it's like that was the other part of the situation, that Cage is going to be the one to challenge Joe for the TV title, and Hobbs is next in line for the TNT title. But like just going back to Hobbs, man, like bro. It's time. It's time for the changing for the guard, man. It's just time. Yeah. Like you can always tell when it's that time for a title change, bro. Wardlow will be just fine. Wardlow is going to be with AEW, assumingly for years to come. He will be just fine if he drops his TNT title to Hobbs. And then on top of that, when Wardlow wins the title, and look, I don't know when he'll be cleared. This individual I'm about to bring up, I don't know when he'll be back. I know he's out with a lower leg injury or something like that. You got Ricky waiting for him. You got Scorpio Sky, who I'm referring to. Scorpio Sky got to stake his claim to the TNT title again. But you got a list of people ready. And like how Nate said, Hobbs will be he'd be able to play some out of conference games now. be able to get outside the home gym and get some play. But yeah, I'm definitely excited about the possibility of Powerhouse Hobbs.
And I'm going to give some love to Dada. I do think that
Christopher, I heard you talking, Christopher.
I do think that Prince Nana is a good manager for Powerhouse Hobbs and Cage and those guys. I don't think that Prince Nana I don't think ROH was great to him the last time he was there. I think that he's got a second lease on life being in AEW, and I'm hoping that they take full advantage of him, because I think that and take advantage of the gifts that he brings to the table.
Yeah. So brother Nate, shall we get into this next story, man? I know we coming up on our scheduled time, but you know we run on a different time. We
got a 90-minute TV time limit, but we also run on Calrissian people time. Shout out to Maria.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just saying I wasn't expecting any Jericho agreement this week. I was thinking that that might be a little bit more of a battle. So
yeah. Oh, no, we all kind of. Hey, Chris, I don't know who you think was going to go to bat for Chris Jericho. That definitely wasn't going to happen. But shall we get into this next story, fella? Because I think this is going to be a very interesting one. This past wait, I need the full screen. I need everybody. I'm talking about. I need everybody on it. We'll be back. I need everybody on it.
Let's do it,
fellas. This past Tuesday on NXT, Simone Johnson made her on-screen debut. Ava Raine, after 2 years in WWE being officially under contract, she officially made her on-screen debut. She is a part of the Schism with Joe Gacy, Rip Fowler, and Jagger Reed, formerly known as the Grizzled Young Veterans. She was revealed as their fourth member. They had been teasing this for a while now, like an individual in a red hoodie who was trying to appease the Schism, and like they revealed it as her. Me just sort of started off because I had talked with John and Way about this when I was on when we were talking about this on Why the Dynamite. Me personally, I know initially a lot of people were like, oh man, like why would you bring her on like this? And like, we gonna pair her with Gacy and them. And like, look, me personally, I don't find the Schism that interesting. I'm not a big fan of their group, but I do also understand that Joe Gacy, vet, Zach Gibson, vet, James Drake, vet. You pairing Simone Johnson, who is and Nate, Chris, and Rich. I'm pretty sure y'all saw it, bro. Did you see the outlets that was covering her just from an on-screen appearance, dog? Fox, ESPN, like mainstream media off an appearance, but she was on TV for 3 minutes. And she getting mainstream attention, dog. Can you imagine the attention she's going to get when they announce her official in-ring debut? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that this is the best course to go with Ava Raine, Simone Johnson, as you bring her into this TV, because it shelters her. You don't just you bring her out as a singles talent, right? Just by herself. You immediately throwing her to the wolves. She got to find her own character. She ain't got nobody to bounce off of. You know what I'm saying? Right. It makes it more difficult. But you put
she's got the shadow of her father behind.
You got the shadow of her father. You got her in this group, this dark, ominous group that people assume is nothing like her. First of all, that could be probably in line with her real personality in terms of like stuff that she may like and stuff that she may end. That might be something that fits. But even if it's not, bro, it makes it easier for her to have three people who can, most importantly, before anything, that can go on the mic and that can help her and sort of, even if she gets in a moment where she slips up in a promo or she like gets stuck, you got three people right there who can easily pick up the reins for her. It just makes it that easier for her to transition. And of course, bro, do you really think Simone Johnson's going to be with the Schism for the rest of her WWE career? No, but let's be fucking real. But this is The Rock's daughter, bro. She is going to be a prominent figure, and let me rephrase that. They're going to hope that she's going to be a prominent figure in the years coming forward. So I think that
she's going to at least be afforded every opportunity.
Exactly. And bro, I think that this is the best course of action in terms of her starting her WWE run. And then at that, when she makes her in-ring debut, you don't even got to throw her in the singles. You can do a mixed tag. And that way it's just, again, further alleviate the whole thing. And like I saw Black Mega Man just said, you think she would take over the group like her father did with the Nation? That could be a situation where she becomes like the head honcho of the group, and maybe you can lead it that way. I'm a big fan of. I think it's always cool to see like women like leading male dominated groups. It's like a cool factor to it. Like it's always something with that. But like, bro, I think that this is the best course of action for her starting out. I think that it will make things so much easier for her to just sort of skate through a little bit without having, hey, y'all, The Rock's daughter making her debut. Here we go. And like, it's unnecessary pressure, bro. So like now she's going to just mosey on along, find her way, and then eventually you will start to see those flashes, those little things that will be like, oh, there it is. She might have found it. You're gonna start to see that as the months go along. But like I know a lot of people, like I said, they're gonna criticize the Schism, but bro, like this is probably the easiest way to bring her into this system on the TV without like all this like immediate attention on her. And even if she's in the group, the attention still gonna be on her. Like when she appears next week or when she appeared a week after that or whatever, attention still gonna be on her. But now, like I said, you got 3 vets around her that can help pick up the slack if she does have a moment where there's like a bit of nerves or there's a little bump in the road, if you will. But yeah, that's my whole take. I just want to start that off because like I think that this is a good way to bring her in. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take this first, Andrew, being the host of the Rocky Maivia Picture Show,
Yeah, there you go.
which you can find available here on Post Wrestling. But here's the thing, Andrew, like, and I didn't want to put you on Front Street like this, but when you started on the NWA podcast, I was like, we know we got this kid, Andrew Thompson, a star. But we gonna put some veterans around him. Myself, Chris, Rich Fann. We gonna put the veterans around this young star before we put the rocket on his back, and then he can fly to the moon. But I'm not mad at that breakdown of her debut because I think you're right. Like, ultimately, is the schism going to be something that is remembered 10, 15 years from now? Probably not. Exactly. Who knows? It could turn into something, but as it's written, as you know, what we saw this past week, it's probably just going to be something that's here as a vehicle to get Simone on the road. And the thing is, Andrew, like you said, you don't want to just bring her in like this is the Rock's daughter. And, you know, her dad's got a movie that's out, the #1 movie in America, Black Adam. And like, that's too much pressure to put on this kid. And I think putting her in this situation, particularly in NXT, which while it's a part of WWE television, it's
developmental.
It's developmental. Yeah. It's not the main course in terms of your WWE programming. I think this is a good way to kind of ease her in, surround her with veterans, find out what she does well right now, let her do that in limited spots, and like she is going to be afforded every opportunity to be great because she comes from greatness. You know, her father, her grandfather, her great-grandfather, like she's coming from greatness. And so if we know one thing about this company, Andrew, is they love them some generational wrestlers, right? Like they love them some second, third, fourth generation wrestlers. And so she's just got to, you know, take it slow, you know, and if they put her in the best position to display what talent she has right now and then develop her other skills, I think she's going to be great, man. Like I think, obviously I'm a little bit biased because The Rock is arguably my favorite wrestler of all time, but I think that, you know, she's going to be great. And, you know, even if she's bad, Andrew, let's be negative right now. Even if she's terrible, even if she is terrible, she still got stardom waiting for her because she can end up in one of these Fast and Furious movies or one of these DC superhero movies. Rich Fann.
Hey, Rich, real quick, they better treat her right if they want Rock to show up at WrestleMania. they better treat her right.
Listen, I was very conflicted because I thought about when this first happened, what's going on with Braun Breaker and how they kind of play games with his family and don't acknowledge. And then I listening to Andrew and listening to you, Nate, the thing that popped in my head as you guys were talking was as Rock did what he did in the Nation, he had that Rocky Maivia stage before that where people hated his guts because they played him as the kid that was the son of wrestling grandson. And it was just, nah, we don't want that. We need this dude. So if she wants to be the member of the dynasty, the Samoan dynasty that decided she wanted to hang out in Hot Topic, listen.
Hey, Rich, she just wants to control her narrative, Rich.
Oh, hey, don't do that, man.
She's
don't
trying
do
to
that.
see why in. She's trying to see why in. So, listen, if that's going to be her case, I'm fine with it. I'm looking forward to it. If they're going to do it the character-based stuff and then get her from the bottom up in terms of wrestling, I'm happy for that as well. The one thing I want to see, especially as like Andrew said, like she can do this. Like you have the best of both worlds. You have the media covering the daughter of The Rock without having Simone Johnson, daughter of The Rock, as your gimmick. Like everybody else got to have a character before they got to be a person. And so letting her develop in this way, I think it makes a lot of sense. And again, it's going to be a backdoor. I apologize, Andrew. This is a backdoor back to the CM Punk conversation. If The Rock can trust his daughter with Triple H, CM Punk can come back to Triple H and work with him.
It's levels.
Oh, wait, I'll go one step further for you, Andrew. If The Rock could trust Shawn Michaels with his daughter,
there you go.
Everything's open.
There you go. Look at that.
Yeah. I thought that her debut was okay. I do have a problem with the gimmick name for her. I do think she should just be Simone Johnson. I don't, and I did hear your point, Andrew, the other day. I think it was you and John and Way saying that this was a better way to introduce her. I think if every outlet is reporting her as The Rock's daughter, every goddamn outlet that I saw was reporting The Rock's daughter debuts on television. Just don't stop the bullshit. She's The Rock's daughter. Okay, if she sucks as The Rock's daughter, then guess what? She sucks as The Rock's daughter. If she's good as The Rock's daughter, then guess what? She's good as The Rock's daughter. The pressure is gonna be there. Oh yeah, regardless.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So you saying she should have came in like Charlotte did in NXT?
Yes, exactly. It's like this is the silliness in WWE that does get on my nerves, because it's like Curtis Axel, for example. When you call this guy, what is he, Michael McGillicuddy?
Yes.
Curtis Axel. It didn't matter what you called him. He was not put in a situation where he could succeed.
Hey,
you
want to know what? See, this is why I like Chris, because he asked like the counterpoint that sort of get me thinking a little bit. There is another alternative route they could have. They could have brought her in as like, hey, this is The Rock's daughter, and push her to the moon off the jump.
Yeah, she could be The Rock's daughter.
You go ahead, Chris.
She could be The Rock's daughter and think she's better than everybody.
And that's her gimmick. And that's her gimmick.
Yeah,
and that's her gimmick.
She
went in NXT women's titles like in the first 4 months of her run there, and like they pushed her to the moon, and like beyond even people wanted it. Treat her like how you would treat like a Charlotte or anybody like
right.
Like that's a fair thing that you could have did with it for real.
Yeah,
if you want to be real.
She could have came in as The Rock's daughter, and everybody is picking on her because they have preconceived notions about her. I understand the thought process by not naming her after the people. She's not her. There's a difference between being the offspring of Rick Steiner and being the offspring of the Rock.
Don't do that to LeBron breaking Chris.
Chris out here disrespecting lineage. Just look at him.
Don't do that, Chris.
Difference. And even with Braun Breaker, I thought
that Steiner math ain't hitting right.
That's not
I thought he should have been brought in as Steiner as well, but I don't. I think
Chris, the thing about Braun Breaker, I think the thing that now what people don't care as much is because he's a success. That's the thing. Like people don't care now because it's like Braun made it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like he good. So I think it'll be a similar thing with Simone. Like whether that alternative route that you're talking about, like bro, if she's a success, then the name won't matter. But like if if it doesn't go well, the people are gonna be like, you might want to reroute her. Like let's lean into this is The Rock's daughter.
And I do think like whenever she makes her main roster debut, I think she will be Simone Johnson.
Right.
I actually think it's gonna be the opposite.
Really?
I think it's going to be the opposite because think about it. He started as Rocky Maivia. We have been spending this entire segment calling him The Rock. That ain't his name. Like we're talking about Simone, like she can't be Ava. Like that ain't that man's name. Wayne. He is a dude named. I always think about that episode of Nitro where Renegade got cut down by friggin' Jimmy Hart. He's like, you're not a Renegade. You're just some dude named Rick.
Yeah, Play-Doh Rick, and he poured the bottle of water on that washcloth and wiped the shit off his face.
Right, like you could do the same thing. Like grab that little tweezers on his eyebrow. You're just Wayne. Like we ain't doing that to him. So if she want to be Ava Raine, and that's just who she is, that she does the thing where she does The Rock, and you got stuff falling down. Like they can make it look like she's $1 million. The thing for me is let her because he think about The Rock. He did a couple of his family's moves, like the Samoan drop and all that, but he added a little stank on it. He added the Maivia Hurricane, which was to this day one of my favorite. Like I'm not a cruiserweight, but I'm a big man that can move. That's his move. And then, of course, I can't show it right now because the camera can't go down. But
Rich about to hit the People's Elbow live on stream
with them calves, like the calf cutout boots. Like that was a flex that I had never even thought about for a wrestler.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this man come out here, just his calves out like a hussy, just out here, just showing ankle meat, just getting it out here, getting people all hot and bothered. So she could do. She got to find that fit. And I think on the main roster, if she want to be Ava Rain from the start, and then that's just who she is. But one thing to what Chris was saying though, if they really wanted to push her to the moon, they would have had Roman bring her into the family like they did Solo Sikoa.
Yeah,
and put her under his wing and be like, you know what, I'm head of the table because your daughter worked with me.
Yeah,
and then you got some heat.
I was thinking of so many different scenarios. That was one of the scenarios that I thought of, Rich. That would have been. I like Joe Gacy. I'm still amazed that he was able to keep his gimmick name. I don't know how that slipped through the slipped through the cracks, rather. But hey, shout out to Gacy. Yeah, because I mean, shout out to that dude. But I we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna trust Triple H. I think his daughter is gonna be good just because anybody that comes from that family
turns out to be good.
It's automatically good. So I'm just gonna assume that. But let me read a couple of these because I was able to make the letters bigger. So I see Black Mega Man says, "Let's hope she turns out more like Charlotte Flair and not David Flair."
Damn.
Shots fired.
Yeah.
David Flair catching strays on the NWA podcast. Who had that on their bingo card?
Yeah. Hey, I like David Flair when he was with Daphne, R.I.P. Daphne.
Oh yeah, shout out to Daphne, man.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, nothing wrong with her starting out as number 3. That's Mason Gibbs. All right, and then Hansi, our boy Hansi's online.
Yeah, shout out to Hansi.
Yeah,
hey Hans.
And he says, "I'd rather Hobbs feud with Joe than Wardlow." Wardlow is just not interesting to me at the moment. And this is not a knock on Wardlow. It's just he doesn't seem special to me at the moment. Whereas
he's no Omos.
Yeah. Whereas in the summer that don't get me started. Poor old Omos. They're gonna have him fucking job to Strowman. I was against the Omos push, but not. What did that girl from the Matrix say? Not like this.
Not like this.
Not like this. Omos deserves better than having a job to Strowman.
Look, that's how good a booker Triple H is, Andrew. Triple H found a way to get Chris to sympathize with the Nigerian Colossus Omos.
Hey, you want to know the thing though? I'm gonna go on and say this. I think Omos gonna be Strowman. And no, the only reason I say that is because the thing I told y'all 3 months, like I think a couple months ago, Triple H personally recruited Omos. I don't know how much weight that holds, but I think one thing that is very clear: if you were a part of Triple H's NXT, you hold a special place with that man, aka we just saw with
that's Emma, his draft pick.
That's his draft with Emma Tenille Dashwood.
Yep.
I think that he valued her in a way that a lot of people didn't, and he holds her in a high regard, even though she lost that match. But like, I think that he gonna bring people like Finn Balor, Kevin Owens. They hold a special place with him, and Omos got personally recruited by Triple H, and like he wanted him in WWE, like sought him out.
Yeah.
So that makes me think that he will choose Omos and try to experiment with Omos over getting a quick win for Strowman. That's just, but I can definitely see the other way going
I
around.
hope and pray that he's all right.
Chris out here hoping and praying for Omos to win. Homo sapiens stand up.
I'm just saying the shit that I used to see Strowman post online. and stuff.
You got to control that narrative, Chris. Control that narrative.
Strowman is not somebody that I think I would like as a person, just based off of his social media stuff.
Right.
And I don't think Omos deserves that. Almost, he might get better. You know what I'm saying? Oh, shout out to Mark.
Hey, Nate, look at this corner turn that we done had over the past several months of this podcast. This is beautiful. This is beautiful, man. Hey, real quick.
Thank you for joining the winning team, Chris.
Look.
Yeah, I mean,
round of applause, man. Round of applause, man.
A historic episode of the Nubian Wrestling Advocates,
I
ladies
don't
and
want to
gentlemen.
be mistaken for a fan of Omos.
Oh, he dog walking.
Don't walk it
He
back.
dog
Don't
walking.
qualify, Omos. Don't qualify, the brother.
But I think he deserves better than being fodder for Braun Strowman. I don't think.
But you know what? Andrew brought up a good point to what Chris was saying. Remember what happened with Tennille when she was there? When she was in NXT, Bubble Princess, it was light, it was fluffy, she was a great wrestler, but it still looked like a $1 million. They bring her up to the main roster. We want you to be Cheesecake Calendar. We want you to be like just hanging out. She got nervous. This is not me. And so they sent her back down. They made her the gimmick that she's the embittered woman who failed on the main roster, which is the first time they've done that. They since have repeated it and they made it a little less awkward. But that character she then took to the indies with the glove and it was just really good job. Triple H, as petty as he was as a wrestler, keeps receipts just as strenuously as Andrew just pointed out with the people he brought in, his kids. And so I think this was like, I'm bringing you back in. I'm gonna make this right. You shouldn't have been
my
fired.
draft pick. They put you in the wrong offense.
Right, exactly. And to me, and I don't want to get into this woman's personal business, but I think I'm just trying to project and maybe I'm projecting a little. You guys pull me back if I'm going too far. But she talked a lot about her skin issues when she's been out and about on social media.
I remember that. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
She has to take like oatmeal baths, and like sometimes her back is almost like my son has eczema, but it's not as like it's prevalent as it is with her. So like when it's like flaring up, that's very embarrassing. It's a very personal thing. So if you want me in a bikini every other week and I got a flare up, I'm sure that's in the back of her head. And now she has a boss that's going to respect her as a person. And that was the thing with Vince. Vince could come up with these great ideas irrespective of the person, which sounds like a good idea because it just sounds like, I don't see color, stupid things like that. But what you're doing is you're creating roles for people based on what you see, not who they are.
And the wrestling business is thank you for getting that up, Rich.
Rich Fann. Rich Fann.
I'm friendly. I've been knowing Rich Fann for a while at this point, but yeah, WWE is very big. Not just WWE. I don't want to single out Vince. The wrestling business is very infamous for that colorblind racism bullshit, where they don't like, I don't see color, so they just do stupid things like
we're all equal.
Like so you make Bianca Belair job in 10 seconds at the Royal Rumble or SummerSlam and stuff like that. They do that all the time. So I don't like that shit, and hopefully we're past that.
In the words of Sister Brandy Rhodes, if you don't see color, you don't see me, Chris.
If you try to get at Brandy, if you try to get a shot of Brandy, Cody, you better lose that. You better lose that. I don't see color bullshit, man. That's probably the greatest thing that ever happened to Cody Devontae.
What we didn't know was that was the night Devontae was born.
Yeah, it was.
That was the origin story. Yeah. Like if I got to get with this woman, I got to understand. It's like I seen the struggle. Like she was like the intern and undercover brother.
Yeah, he started reading some Jane Elliott. He started reading some Michael Eric Dyson. He was like trying to
Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Coates. Everybody, man.
He's like, you know what?
Hold on 1 second, Rich Fann.
Oh, go ahead, Nate. I'm sorry.
Hold on 1 second, Rich Fann, because I feel I wasn't gonna do this, Andrew.
No. I
feel like we got to do it, Andrew.
Wait until we done.
You want to save it for later? Okay, let's save it for later,
bro.
Let's save it for later.
But you know what? This is a great transition. You talking about Black excellence. Well, not
Ooh,
I ain't talking about Cody. I ain't talking
Give
about,
it
he
to
talking
him.
about Cody.
Cody
But no,
Luther
look, we talking about Black excellence. Hey, Nate, Chris, and Rich Fann at the Black Panther premiere, man. We had Sasha Banks, Naomi,
Yes.
Xavier Woods, Kofi, that man Big E.
Big E.
And you know, we had Jimmy Uso there too. He cool. Jimmy cool. Jimmy cool. You know, ain't that wrong with Jimmy cool. But we talk about the Black excellence, man. But further going on that, it was reported by it was noted in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that despite everything that we've heard over the past since May, since Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out of WWE, if it is to be believed, and it was noted in the Observer that Sasha Banks is still under contract to WWE, and it's simply a matter of when they'll bring her back. Rich, I wanted to kick it over to you. Like I think Rich was on the podcast when we talked about the month after they walked out, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Rich,
we do have to get this super chat because when you pay,
yeah, go ahead.
We got to put you on the top. So Black
the words of Brandy Rhodes, you may be a black belt, but I'm a black.
We ain't saying that. We ain't saying that.
Come on,
shit,
man. Come on, man.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat, brother.
But we ain't saying that.
Let me tell you something, bro. The internet ain't never gonna let Brandy lay that promo down the same way they ain't gonna let Cody lay down that biracial promo. Bro, Cody will never be forgiven for that promo, and he shouldn't. Yeah. That was dreadful, dreadful promo. But going back to Rich. Rich, when you look at Sasha Banks and Naomi, do you think it would be more effective to bring them back as a tag team, or do you think that since you got them as hot as they will be if they come back, whatever you want to phrase it, do you think it might be better to split them two up, singles push all the way, or do you think it might be the better choice to have them come back as a collective group and just sort of dominate the tag team division as they, clearly showing that there's a sisterhood there off screen?
I think build off the sisterhood. Give them an opportunity to kind of keep that moving. One of the things I've loved so much about this experience they've had outside of work is you've seen Sasha. The story became when I first did this chat with you guys. Oh, Sasha just bullied her. Naomi was just cool. She was going with the flow. But what we've seen, gentlemen, in the last few months, not only has Naomi come into her own, but Sasha didn't leave her behind. Yes. Everything she do, Sasha do. Everything Sasha do, she do. And so they are locked in, like you in Fashion Week. If I eat, you eat. And
hold on, Rich. Hold on, real quick, Rich Fann. I'm gonna let you finish. But you know what that's called, brother? Unity. If you know, you know.
That's it right there.
Yeah,
if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, you go ahead, Rich.
Oh, I just think the unity that they're showing, props to my man, brother Nate, is exciting to me because when they come back, you can show that, you can continue it. If you bring in the other elements, just like with the Usos, like the one thing I'm going to say, Black Panther, it was a little less Usi than I thought it would be, but that's fine. That's fine. When it comes time to bring him home, they ain't bringing him home to the cookout. Like they had the cookout, they ain't bring my man Sam to the cookout. So I got issues with that. But I think they come back when they come back. And to the point that is made in the Observer, think back when Sasha had her hiatus last time. They ain't stop her contract. They ain't fire her. They let her go to Japan. They let her go find herself and then come back. Sasha built different. Sasha and Charlotte built different in terms of how they're treated by the company. And again, how they're treated by the man who remembers the four women that helped put him and his company on the map. Or sub-company.
And I did look at, and we were kicking back against the wrestling media when they were saying, well, Naomi is just following Sasha's lead, and Sasha is the ring leader that's a bad influence on Naomi. And that
hey Chris, you want to know the crazy thing? Ariane Andrew was the one that said that made those claims that she was manipulating Naomi. I'm like, bro, how you gonna say that? Like, come on, dude. Like, what? Like,
be your own people sometimes.
Be your own people sometimes. I'm like, come on, man. What are you doing?
Ariane, shout out to her. I was in summer school with her at
Look at that.
State Northridge.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Flag on the play. Illegal procedure. You have to tell us the story of you going to summer school with Arian Andrews, man.
Oh, nothing. She's I don't know if she ever graduated from Cal State Northridge. I had to go to Cal State Northridge for a semester. My home Cal State was Cal State Dominguez Hills. That's where I graduated from. Arian went to Cal State Northridge, and I was in a class with her for a semester. And she was cool. I mean, that's just the extent of it. But yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you don't get these stories anywhere else but the NWA podcast.
Yeah, I think I'm not Arian saying that's her homegirl, so I get it. I have a problem with the wrestling media saying that because it's one thing when your homegirl says that and she's trying to do whatever. I didn't like the wrestling media saying that. Naomi is a grown ass woman. If you ever watched her in interviews, like watch her on the DL Hughley show, when she was being interviewed by DL Hughley and his crew, she's a smart woman. She no one's making decisions or pulling any strings for her, and that was kind of a racist narrative that I didn't like being perpetuated by a lot of people in the wrestling media. And like Rich said, they're gonna come back when it's right for them to come back. And I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited for the future of both of those women.
I think for me,
Andrew, more effective for them to come back. Yeah, I was going to ask you the same thing. Do you think it'd be more effective if they came back as a duo or go straight for the singles push?
I think like Rich and Chris said, keep that unity going, man. Because the best stories in wrestling are stories that are built from a place of truth, right? And there is nothing truer to these two women than their friendship, than their bond, than what they've gone through together, right?
Right.
And so it always makes me smile, like seeing them out at these events or seeing them, just being together, because it would be so easy for somebody in Sasha's position, particularly, to be like, I got to look out for me.
Right.
But she's like, I'm looking out for we. You got my back, I got yours, and we're doing this together. It is an actual sisterhood. We're not just work friends, we are real friends. And so to me, that's the story. You bring them back together, particularly when your tag champs are Damage Control, which is led by Sasha's former best friend. Like, the storyline writes itself. And so, there'll be time eventually for them to, split apart. But I feel like, much like the New Day, like, their relationship is something where you can have Big E off on his own, but it's still family. It's still love whenever they get together, whenever they link up. It's much like Rich Fann, Chris. Like, Rich Fann ain't here on the show every month. Rich Fann doing his own thing with the torch. He's out here moonlighting with W.H. Park, talking about these comics and whatnot. Yeah. But when Rich shows up, man, the love is still there. And I think you can do the same thing with Sasha and Naomi.
I think
real quick.
so
like with Naomi and Sasha, I'm like really interested to see how they could bring them back. I think it's more like I for real. I expect, like, this is me personally. Like, I'm pretty sure like a lot of people would just be satisfied like if they showed up in the fucking Rumble or some shit like that, or they showed up on a random episode of SmackDown. It's especially with the way that they brought back Bray Wyatt with these teases and stuff like that. I think it would be real cool if they did like a twist on that with Naomi and Sasha, but like make it the worst kept secret ever without actually saying it,
right?
That they're coming back. Like and build that anticipation. And not do like a CM Punk and not do like an exact replica of what was done in those two particular situations, referring to CM Punk and Bray Wyatt, but like a spinoff of that and make them feel like a big deal, make it an event. And then that way, when you do that, you have two marquee names coming to add to a women's tag team division that is decent, but could definitely use two people like Naomi and Sasha Banks. And I think there'll just be a nice shot in the arm to that tag team division and a big boost to the women's division overall. And I think just like especially like what Rich just said and we had talked about a little earlier. Sasha Banks is one of quote unquote Triple H's NXT kids. You know what I'm saying? So along with the Kevin Owens, the Baileys, bro, like I'm a look, you know what I'm saying? So that I think that's gonna be an interesting dynamic that plays out. And I also think that there's you want to know what my hope is, bro, that Naomi gets a little bit more shine, because I do feel like people sort of put her to the wayside a little bit. Just a little, not all the way, but like, I do feel like she is kind of like I'm trying to make sure I say this right. It's always like, and I hope y'all get what I'm saying. It's always like Sasha Banks and Naomi. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all get what I'm trying to say with that. And it's like, I hope
Sasha Banks is David Ruffin and Naomi is Otis.
Yeah, exactly, bro. And I hope that Naomi is able to get a little bit, because I mean, if we being real, bro, like she had one of my favorite matches earlier this year. I think it was in February against Charlotte Flair on SmackDown for the Women's Championship. But that was one of Naomi's best performances, and like she had the people with her, like fucking people was ready to see her win the title. They was ready for a title switch, and like right after that on social media, everybody was like, "Oh, why the hell they ain't doing with Naomi? Like, why?"
People have been asking that for years.
People have been asking that for years, like you just said, Nate. So bro, we all know what Sasha about. Like Sasha, like you there is no conversation that you can have if you talking about top 5 women's wrestlers in North America, and you not had Sasha Banks somewhere in that list. You crazy, you tripping. Top 3, you tripping. Like she's in there somewhere, however you want to rank her. And I'm just very interested to see, also what they can do, what they can do as a collective, but also with their individual singles pushes look like, because they both can bring that sort of level of attention to a division and carry it over in the ring as well. So I'm just very interested in that dynamic. So I'm excited about them coming back. But I know we're about to wrap it up, Nate, but I got one more story that I wanted to sort of just get everybody take over real quick. We could just, go over it real quick. We ain't got to spend too much time on it because we sort of touched on it. But this Carl Anderson, New Japan story, they did Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows. They returned to WWE. They realigned with AJ Styles. Carl Anderson he still is the never open weight champion. New Japan had booked them for November 5th for the Battle Autumn show against Hikuleo. WWE turned around, booked Anderson for November 5th in Saudi Arabia. For the team with AJ Styles and Doc Gallows, and now they're doing this whole thing on social media where you got the NJPW president. He's saying he's angry, telling Tokyo Sports he's upset. You got Carl Anderson putting out videos saying that he's not defending the title. He's gonna defend it on his own time. You got New Japan issuing his statements talking about if Anderson doesn't defend the title, he's gonna get stripped. This whole thing going on, but it's also got reported by I believe by Fight Select that New Japan has been aware of Anderson and Gallows going back to WWE since August. So this is not some type of shoot thing. Like they wanted to go to you, man. Like, are you? What is the end game that you see for this? And are you of the waiting mindset of why are we doing all this for Carl Anderson?
I was gonna say that. That's what I was gonna say. I shout out to Carl Anderson. I really don't care about this. This is my number one rule when it comes to the wrestling business. People are allowed to change their mind, and they always do. Just accept it, and then just kind of move on from this. This is a fucking non-story as far as I'm concerned. I don't care at all. But it is news, so we are addressing it. But I don't care. Carl Anderson can do whatever the fuck he wants to do. It's me.
Rich?
Oh well, I guess I would say I'm in a similar boat, but I would say this. I think it's especially with the Fightful report. I think this is just them doing what New Japan's trying to make the best of a weird situation.
Yeah.
If they're either gonna strip him, because think about what happened with Juice Robinson. They knew he was hurt. They advertised him. They stripped him. He still had the title, but they had to make a new champion. And then they got weird and they made it a story over the course of the 3 months after. If Anderson has already gotten a green light, and I wrote this in an article months ago for The Torch about easy wins for Triple H. One of the easiest wins was this year's New Japan show is Wrestle Kingdom's going to be on a Wednesday. So a lot of the wrestlers from AEW can't really leave for it because Dynamite still needs to make that money for Tony. If WWE tries to be the magnanimous, hey, we're going to let you use Carl Anderson, we're going to let you use Big LG.
Yeah.
They look like, again, I likened it.
Or AJ over there. You never know.
Right.
Never
Yeah,
know.
that's what I said. Like, send them all. Just send as many, because they got 200, 300 wrestlers. Send all the New Japan X's over, and then you get to be Michael Jackson at the end of Thriller, putting your arm around New Japan while AEW's hard staring at you, and your eyes are glowing. Like, that's it. And that's a win, because Triple H looks like, and then you do that, and then you bring in CM Punk, and you let CM Punk wrestle Tanahashi. Yeah. You're welcome, Hunter.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah, for me, Andrew, it's that old Deion Sanders, man. Must be the money, right? Like, ain't no way Carl Anderson is turning away that WWE Saudi money. Come on, man. Not for New Japan. Come on, man. who we playing with, Andrew Thompson? And so, to Rich's point, I do think they're trying to make the best out of this situation. But also to Chris's point, ain't nobody give a damn about Carl Anderson. Like not personally. Like, I don't know the dude. I'm sure he's a fine dude. But as a wrestling observer, as a wrestling fan, I'm not here for Carl Anderson.
Yeah, it's one of
I got better things to do. I only got so many hours in the day, Andrew. I can't devote too many of them to Carl Anderson.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think we all like Carl Anderson. I think he's a good wrestler. I'll go as far as saying I'm a fan of Carl Anderson, but his decision making doesn't make or break any company.
This ain't LeBron choosing to go to Miami.
Hey, bro, that man Carl Anderson that dipped in New Japan twice. I know they tired of his shit.
Yeah.
he done rolled out on them twice, bro.
Yeah.
But also, like, real quick before we wrap it up, like, I also think this is a lesson for New Japan. Mm-hmm. If one of these wrestlers has your title, make sure they're under contract. Stop letting people run around with your championships and they're not signed.
Talk to them.
Stop doing that. Stop doing that. But y'all are too big of a company to be doing this. Sign people.
Well,
you get one thing. You want this championship, go ahead and sign this contract. It ain't got to be for that long. You can give them a 6-month deal, 7-month deal, but you're not about to be running around with our championship and you're not under contract. And the only thing we got to agree on is a handshake, and then you can just dip out whenever you want to.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Show up on Raw, throw my championship in the trash.
And then get mad at it. That's my thing. It's like, you don't have this guy under contract, and then you get mad when he does what he does.
He a free agent.
Yeah, this is
now. I will push back gently on this, because this ain't some regular dude. This is a non-Japanese dojo developed guy that they figure is like, this is one of our guys. Like, no matter what he's done, when he ain't had nowhere to stay, he was sleeping in the dojo. We hooked him up when nobody did. We gave you pushes that nobody would. It'd be the same thing if Jay White's contract ran out and they were like, we're going to trust you to be the champion through this, because we done you right, you do us right. It's all good. But not everybody know. Like, listen, I don't mean to. This is the second time in 2 weeks I've done this man personal business on a podcast. But when his wife got to have his Twitter on LoJack, maybe you want to have a contract slot.
Damn.
Hey, but brother Nate, that's all the news we got for this.
And on that note,
podcast,
yes, but we want to thank everybody for watching this week, tuning in, man. Whether you are watching live with us here Saturday night or listening in the future in podcast form, we appreciate each and every one of you. Before we get out of here, we want to make sure that everybody is aware of the big event that both Chris and nephew Andrew will be appearing at, the Post Wrestling 5th anniversary spectacular, hosted by John, Way, Braden, and Davey, the 4 pillars of Post, if you will, in Jersey. But before we get out of here, want to go around the horn and let everybody, get their plugs out. Chris, Andrew, we'll start with the nephew. We'll start with the youngest in charge, Andrew Thompson. Let the people know what you got going on in the site, and are you excited for this congregation of the Post Wrestling universe? Did we lose Andrew?
He's there.
Yeah,
I think he might be mute, but it's on delay. There we go.
There you go.
Be a cool event. Definitely looking forward to seeing everybody. It's gonna be a good. I'm looking forward.
Our first little bit of
I was just about to brag.
We made it through a whole show with very little technical difficulties, but hey, compared to the last episode, we'll take it. Andrew Thompson, are you back with us, brother?
You back, Andrew?
There you go.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Am I back? I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody, man. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be cool seeing all the post wrestling folks over in New Jersey, and definitely checking out Full Gear as well. That's gonna be. I was hoping to catch a New York Giants game, but I'm leaving on Sunday. I'm very hurt about this. I was definitely looking forward to see a Giants game, but it's gonna be a good time. You can check me out on Twitter at @AD Thompson _ YouTube channel, Andrew Thompson interview. I just put out an interview with Caitlin King, who's gonna be challenging for the NWA World Women's title at Hard Times, and she just wrestled Mayu Iwatani for the SWA World title at NJPW Rumble on 44th Street. So go check that out. She had no bias aside, but no bias included. But that was probably one of my favorite matches on that NJPW Rumble on 44th Street card, other than Rossa versus Gresham, which was good too. So yeah, go check that interview out with Caitlin King, and you can check out all my written work over at postwrestling.com.
Good stuff from one of the hardest working brothers in the business, the youngest in charge, Andrew Thompson. Mimosa Chris or Moderna Chris or the Professor. Where can the people find you on these internet streets? Thank you to your boy Elon Musk for opening things up. But where can they find you on? Where can they find you on Twitter? And where can they send you muffins if they appreciate the work that you do?
You can find me. You can read me on WrestleNomics.com. I wrote an article for this month. It's not I wrote more of a fun article this month, but it hasn't been posted yet. It might not even be posted till November the 1st, but just look for it. I heard a rumor that Rich Fann may or may not be present at post day.
Exclusive.
Can you confirm or deny this, Rich?
Oh my, I'm on the spot now. I'm on I guess sources close to the situation can confirm, pending playoff football, that I will in fact be there in New Jersey for the 5th anniversary. And also to figure out if I can get WH Park to a Waffle House within a 70-mile radius in New Jersey.
Nice.
Hey, shit, I'll go to the Waffle House with y'all, man. So I'm looking forward to post day. I will be there. I'll be there from Thursday to Sunday. And just looking forward to seeing everybody. This is my first cross-country trip since my brain surgery. So I'm still kind of getting my balance back. My girlfriend is going to be kind of assisting me there. And I'm just, I've met John and Way a couple times. So, I've seen them in person a few different times. Never seen Andrew in person. So never seen Rich in person. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing WH, looking forward to seeing the Up Next guys, our man Neil, whoever's gonna be there. And I blanked on John Bano's name a couple days ago. Or not John, Bano's name. Not Sino, Bano. I blanked on him the other day because he's the one I gave my all my AEW tickets to, him and Stephanie Chase. So I wanted to just make sure I shouted them out. I'm on Twitter for now. I've been seeing a lot of toxicity on Twitter since Elon Musk took ownership of it. A lot of just people just posting horrible stuff. People I've had to block. So for the time being, you can search me at KM Easy Does It. If I erase my Twitter, which I'm thinking about doing, I got like 2,500 followers on there. I probably know about 100 of them. And the rest of them are either bots or post wrestling fans. I don't know. But yeah, I just can't stay in a toxic environment, and I don't give much of a fuck about Twitter anyway.
Hey, Elon Musk, you can't run me off Twitter. It ain't happening.
Yeah.
He can't run. Chris, don't let that man run you off Twitter, bro.
Yeah, no, so there's been a big debate at my job stead about Twitter usage from people at the school and stuff, and some people. I've already gone through a situation where me and Nate were doing Kings of Sport, and I don't want, but it was somebody was and I'm not calling anybody out, but anytime there's voter disinformation as a political science professor, if someone from my job sees me not check somebody hard for that, I can get in a lot of trouble for that because I'm supposed to be a purveyor of truth. So that's the thing about Twitter, and there's so many lies from a lot of people, and I can't police everybody and check everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's not even a responsibility that I want. I want.
Go ahead, Chris. Get you a badge like Herschel Walker and police these.
You're right. Yeah. This when me and Nate do our shows. If I'm ever a guest on Rich's show or whatever, or when Andrew, when we're on this show, I do not mind letting people know what I'm learned in, know what I think about things. But outside of that, on Twitter, it's just a hard thing to do when bullshit's being thrown at you left and right. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons. So if I get off of Twitter, it's not necessarily because I'm being ran off of Twitter. It's just because as an educator, there's a level of responsibility that I have when I get into those spaces, and I just like when we did the show with Nate, the person that was saying that stuff is a friend of ours, and I'm not I don't want to be I'm not a person, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to be having these kind of battles in front of everybody, if we talk on the phone, because I'm not here to embarrass anybody or anything like that, but it's just a weird space to be in if you're me at the moment in my job.
Chris ain't trying to be a locker room cancer, y'all.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thing. I'm not trying to be somebody. Now, when you come on this show and you're not a personal friend of mine, I got no problem, telling you what's what.
So you're saying I shouldn't have booked Jericho for November? My bad, dog.
Oh yeah.
Get out the vote with Chris Jericho.
Yeah. And remember to vote on November the 8th. Rovember is what we're calling it. The polls are saying the Democrats are going to lose the House. I do not believe the polls. And this is, and usually I do go with the polls. I don't believe the polls. I think when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, I think they sealed their doom. And I do think the American public is going to kick back at that. So, and hopefully we get things on a right path. And if you don't like me saying that, then that's your problem, because this is our platform. You know what I'm saying? This is for us, and this is what I do. So
that's the professor, y'all. Chris Ely, every month here on the NWA Podcast. Somebody who is not here every month, at least not physically or in person, but he's always here in spirit. That good man, Rich Fann. Rich, tell the people what you got going on at the Torch, how they can find you on social media, and anything else you want to plug, brother.
Sure. So you can follow me on Twitter at Rich_Fann, FANN. In terms of stuff at the Torch this month, this coming Tuesday, I think, or Wednesday, whenever Wade put it out, you'll hear or read my latest article over there talking about the power dynamics going on and how Tony kind of needs to check him and learn lessons from his fellow colleague at Warner Brothers, The Rock, who seemed to pull a lot of power plays in the last few weeks with Warner and DC. And Tony might want to kind of keep that in mind when he wants to get somebody that could be a real conciliary instead of that guy who may or may not like the 1-6 Mafia. So take a read of that when it comes out. Additionally, I have the Deep Dive and the East Coast Cast. Deep Dive with Will Cooling now on the VIP side of things. East Coast Cast with Travis Bryant. Melanated for your pleasure. And so that's been doing that 7 years with myself and Big Trav. And finally, on the VIP side, I do everything with Rich and Wade, where myself and editor publisher Wade Keller talk about topics of the day. And so that's about it from me. Thank you all. And as always, in 2 weeks, I will be bringing myself back to the Post family to cover Wakanda Forever with myself. And I think it's Nate and Way and N.W.A. N.W.A. might have his continued agenda to hashtag recast T'Challa.
Right. Hey, real quick, did you guys and I agree with WH on that, by the way. But did you have any of you seen Black Adam yet? Because I actually like this DC more than the critics did. I thought it was I thought it was good. You know,
that's what The Rock do, baby.
Yeah.
Listen, Chris, I did not anticipate going into that movie. A movie that it took 5-7 years for him to make, where it is comprised of a black male lead as an anti-hero, another black male lead in Aldous Hodge, who I love and leverage, as another lead, as about a MENA actress in Sarah Shahi, and a black and brown cast up and down. And it's about an enslaved man learning to use powers that might not necessarily have been his to begin. Like,
talk to him.
And shout out to Aldous Hodge and shout out to Edwin Hodge. When I used to be an actor in a former life, I used to see Edwin Hodge at auditions all the time. Both him and Aldous are very talented dudes. And like Rich just said, I went because I try to avoid reviews, especially when I watch these comic book movies, because I want to go in there with a fresh mind. But I saw all these negative reviews of Black Adam, and then when I go to the movie and actually see it, I was like, "This is good." And I've said on Twitter, like, Black Adam kind of reminds me of one of those movies like Aladdin or Venom, where like the critics hate it, but like audiences seem to like it better, But I was cool with that. So shout out to the Rock and shout out to Aldous Hodge, and just man, good shit. And I'm looking forward to listening to Rich and WH and Nate review Wakanda Forever. Recast T'Challa. I'm 100% in favor of that. I think that, when an actor dies, that's one thing. I do think it's, I think the legacy needs to carry on. That's my opinion. Tell WH he's got at least one supporter.
And look, for me, it's real quick, because we got to get up out of here because I have to be at work at 8 a.m. But I'm totally down for recast T'Challa, just not in the second movie. That's my whole thing with it. I think you need to give the audience a moment to grieve collectively, because we all grieved when Chadwick passed, unfortunately, and I think from a character standpoint, the relationship that you have with T'Challa in the movie, I think there does need to be a bit of a celebration of life until we get the new T'Challa. But we saving that. I'm giving y'all all this free MCU later opinions right now. Y'all gotta wait for that when we do that mega review with Rich, WH, and the man called Ting. But before we get out of here, I got to let y'all know where you can find me, of course, in the number 8, MOZAIK, at Nate Mosaic on Twitter. Check out the Kings of Sport. Chris mentioned it. Kings of Sport podcast been going strong since 2013. We've passed 300 episodes in this past year, and we got a Patreon out there, patreon.com/Kings of Sport. $5 gets you in the door. We would appreciate the support, show the love, because it's making this content while working 45 to 50 hours a week, plus all the other stuff that Chris and I do, man. It's a struggle sometimes. Sometimes we out here feeling like CM Punk eating these muffins. Like we can't do it no more, kids.
Yeah. And they're making me go back to the physical building to teach this semester, man.
Damn,
next semester
struggle is real.
Yeah.
But so yeah, if you want to check out what we're doing with the Kings of Sport, it's over 200 hours of audio and video talking sports, politics, pop culture, pro wrestling, MCU stuff. Check out the Patreon. A lot of your favorite people that you hear here on Post are over at the Patreon. And like I said, Rocky Maivia Picture Show might be back before the end of the year, kids, because they talked about that man Black Adam, and we've got thoughts about it. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. But until then, shout out to everybody for watching tonight and for listening in the future. Shout out to Pollock and Ting for giving us the platform, man. We appreciate it. And of course, there is one person, Rich Fann, that we need to thank more than anybody else. One person who is even more important than John Pollock and Wade Ting.
Oh yeah,
Talk to him.
We got to give it up for Devontae.
I need this in my life.
Jesus Christ.
What you think, Rich?
Revolution won't be televised, but if a darn sure we'll have Cody, Devontae, Luther Kang coming soon to Quantumverse.
Amen. Yeah. Cody Rhodes walked so that Phil Brooks might fly someday, Andrew.
And I'm gonna shout out to Cody too, because when he was after he cut that silly ass promo that everybody hated, he didn't try to defend it or double down on it or anything. He did.
Yeah, exactly. He said it was bad. He said it was bad.
He said it was bad. He not only did he say it was bad, he pointed out the reasons why it was bad. Yeah. So Cody is always going to be invited to my cookout, man.
Hey, real quick before we dip out. If we talk about people getting booked under Triple H, Cody is going to be the one to watch. That is going to be the most interesting thing. Hey, look, Rich had said it earlier. Hey, Nate, bring me back so we get everybody's reaction. Bring me back. Triple H petty. He petty, dog. That's a petty dude, right? I'm telling you, look, you could be Mr. Forgiven. You could be Mr. Hey, let's bring the game back. That man smashed the throne. He'd have said all the, hey, bro. Triple H petty. So like but you want to know what though? I think that he will push Cody at a high level, just to. I don't want to say fight, but like just
the petty
levels.
Like,
the pet exactly. You get what I'm saying, Rich? The petty levels.
Yeah.
He's going to push Cody to be like, it ain't nothing there. You know what I'm saying? That's Cody cool.
Right.
Let me tell you something, Cody. I'm gonna tell you this right now. That man sealing under Triple H, U.S. title. Tell him. That's all I got to say. He ain't getting that. He ain't getting that world championship. Well, I mean, he might. He might
get it and then have my man come in and cash in within seconds. Exactly. So you can say he had it, but he ain't having it.
Right. That's how they do us. That's how they do us.
It's about
and
us.
On that note, again, we want to thank Rich Fann for joining us. Rich, you always have an open invite here on the NWA podcast, my brother.
Rich Fann.
Yeah.
Thank y'all. I appreciate it. This was fun. Always fun.
Again, thanks everybody for watching, listening. Shout out to the nephew, Andrew Thompson. Shout out to Chris from LA. And shout out to everybody, man, except for Herschel Walker. And remember, the revolution may not be televised, y'all, but a damn sure will be podcasted. Have a safe and happy Halloween. We'll see y'all next month.
Yo, it's Righteous Reg. It's a case for the safe, keep a space for the Nubians. Unfiltered, off kilter, the professor, the godfather. Post wrestling, the NWA, not keep guessing, The views and expressions, you know the rest is pod excellence, get the message. Advocates for Nubian wrestling, you're listening to the best again. Black wrestling in the ring we invested in. Nubian kings and queens we invested in. It's for the culture and we reppin' it. It's for the culture and we reppin' it.